Hey, how's it going? It's Grant with the Garden of Eder.
And Shelby.
And of course, we have our usual guest with us tonight on a Wednesday night. We have Brian Covey with Aquachar.
What's up?
How's it going, man?
Try and turn my light on real quick.
You're good, man. I think you have Chance with you there too, right?
I do.
Oh,
Chance is now a
turned
puppy.
into a puppy.
There's the light.
Thank you.
Hi.
Now don't drop him like a rock.
Yeah.
Okay, and secure at all times.
Her.
Durable.
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. That's not Chance. Chance will be joining us here shortly, and so will our guest. Until then, let's go through and say hi to chat, starting off with the very first one.
Hello, Jamie.
Can you click their name and bring the name up for a second?
Out.
Hey, man, thank you so much. We did get your box in today. Or did we get it yesterday? I think we got it yesterday. Shared most of the chocolates with the kids. Shelby does not like chocolate. The taffy was really, really hard, and the Smarties were different than our American Smarties. It threw us off. And then, of course, our final member of the team, we have Chance Kramer from Aquascape. How's it going, man? Oh, he's muted. Unmute him.
My bad. That was my bad.
How's it going, man?
I'm going. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. We told everybody you turned into a puppy. I don't think anyone bought it for a second.
Yeah.
I mean,
a puppy.
That is a cute puppy.
Pirate.
That's a very cute puppy.
Oh, but you didn't say thank you for the T-shirts and the Canadian coins. The kids love it.
Oh yeah, especially the coins. That was a nice touch of Canada for them. They're like, "Is this real money?" I'm like, "It is. Just you can't use it in America. Maybe one day we'll go see the bigs up in Canada. And bring the
My
kids."
dog's doing like a million, sir. Sorry.
Sorry.
What's up, Snoop? How's it going, Crypt Keeper? Of course, we have our fantastic mod in here joining us tonight, dropping those hot links. Sorry if you fell for it.
I felt it. I got rickrolled.
So how's it going, Brian? You got anything to update us with this week?
Oh man, I've been busy with this puppy, but yeah. Other than that, I just took home my kid's teacher has a little bio orb in their classroom, so I scaped that a while ago. Give me a second, and I'll find a picture of it. But yeah, other than that, just been kind of doing the thing. Got over the COVID with the family. Now we're working on this thing.
It looks so proud to be a mess.
It does. Look at it. It's so cute.
Oh, it's such a happy dog.
It looks adorable, man. He's awesome looking. He's got such a little face on him too, a little personality.
Yeah.
What about you, Grant?
Dark
You got
lightning,
anything?
so that's nice.
What was that, Grant? Sorry.
I was just asking if you got anything to update us with this week.
Yeah, man. We got finalized a partnership with Chroma Guppies as far as getting them on the website. Just a local hobbyist by me, Eric Smithson. He breeds guppies and endlers and things along those lines. But they're just really cool. He has some nice genetics going on. So I threw them up on the site. We have a little agreement going on that he's just going to operate his company off my site, basically. And orders that come through, I just let him know. And he fulfills them and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. It's just, a way for me to kind of like help him build what he's doing, like other people did for me when I was starting out. So.
And do you live close enough to him? If somebody wanted plants and guppies in one order, you could multi-box ship?
Yeah. He's literally my go-to person right now for the nursery as well. When I go travel, he's here pretty much all the time, taking care of the plants and making sure no one comes and steals plants. So
he's your Dante. I got
yeah,
Dante.
He's my Dante.
Yeah.
Dante would rather crash here than at his grandma's house, and Dante is fully loaded with all kinds of guns, and he's just itching for somebody to step into my house. So
Yeah, that's Eric pretty much in a nutshell. Except Eric's married, so.
Dante was married.
Oh, that's true.
A sad story.
Yeah.
He's got a
I
new
remember.
fancy Mustang with a brand new engine though because of it. So that's a video and another story of another channel, not even for this one. But
so guppies and endlers, those things. So I've always been a huge fan of them, and a lot of people in freshwater side don't like them as much, like the live bearers and stuff like that.
I love them.
Like when people get into the genetics, like it's almost. I mean, it's just as complicated as the shrimp side, but like
I want to say it's
hardcore
even
guppy guys, like they'll spend years developing a strain, picking out their favorites just to like get specific like finnage and colorations or dragon scale patterns and stuff like that. So like that's a cool thing to jump in or at least offer, because it's one of a kind stuff that you can't even find in nature.
Yeah, there's guys up by you, and Adrian HD is his company's name, and he breeds all of those like crazy inler mixes and everything. So go ahead. Sorry.
Harder with guppies because you got to deal with like virgin females and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I don't got to worry about that with shrimp.
Yeah, they retain the sperm for like a while too, like weeks.
Three clutches.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And I think maybe after a generation after that might still be like mixed up or something. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, it's
however it works, they're prolific.
They'll spend years trying to get that specific strain and like they'll have like a vision like an aquascape, like what they want their perfect guppy to look like. And
other thing I'm working on right now, I have a paludarium install for Badfish, really awesome aquarium store down here in West Palm Beach. It's going to be on August 16th. That's a Friday. If you're local or semi-local and want to come check it out, you're more than welcome to.
It's talking to you, Nano. All right, and then we've got our special guest speaker for the night. So all shrimp questions and everything else is going to have to wait till then. But without further ado, how's it going, John?
What's going on, guys?
What's up, man?
What's up?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. You got your phone? Could you turn it sideways, maybe?
I don't need to turn it sideways. Hold on. Let's try to set this up.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now you're underneath that light, so that's going to be like really... Let me turn that down.
You're good. So for those that do not know Sean, I know him originally from being the Fritz Master salesman, and then later on, him and George took over Aquashella. So we'll let him speak more about that. Brian, do you want to ask your famous questions?
Yeah. So Sean.
Yeah.
Let's let everybody know, like, how'd you get into fish keeping, and what brought you to make it like a full-time career, the Fritz thing, and everything like that. Give us a little rundown on who you are.
Well, I got into fish keeping when I was about 16 years old, maybe 15. I wanted just a Blackmore goldfish, and I bought one at the Walmart tank, the little trapezoidal one that's like 1 gallon, and I put it in there right in my bathroom, right in the corner there. It fit perfectly, and it died in a few days. I was so upset, and I was like very dedicated, or I was frustrated about the whole situation. It really bothered me, and so I went to ask why did this happen, and then the person at the place said, well, you don't have a big enough tank. And I'm like, but it's the fish in the picture on the tank, and they're like, yeah, well, it doesn't really work like that. It's 1 inch per gallon, bro. And I'm like, but it is an inch. He's like, yeah, well, it's like 1.5 inches, so it's not gonna work. So it's 1 inch a gallon. And so I got a bigger tank, and I had a little bit more success, but I still just kind of struggled like understanding things. And I was shopping at like Walmart or something. You know, that's just where I saw fish the first time. You know, like it wasn't. I didn't know to go to, you know, a specialty store or anything. You know, and I think that's really what goes on with the public today. We can get into that a little bit, but you know, you don't know to go to a local fish store or to seek special guidance or help. And so a lot of our industry funnels through a PetSmart or a Petco or a Walmart or something like that. I don't think Walmart really carries fish anymore. That was back when you could go to Kmart and buy fish. Like
Walmart still sells supplies, so somebody could still get wrong information at Walmart. It's still possible.
Yeah,
I remember buying fish at Kmart.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the Kmart's went out of business not long after I got going, and they had a 5-gallon like, on clearance, and I was just super excited. And so that's pretty much when I got in, and I was just kind of steady, small into it. I didn't like get the bug real bad, but I ended up seeing a mandarin goby, which is a saltwater fish that's like super psychedelic and colorful, and he swims funny. He's got his fins on the side of his head, and he looks like a hummingbird in the water. If you haven't seen it, but I fell in love with this fish, and I wanted to get one, and unfortunately, it turned out to be like one of the hardest fish to keep.
It's on my bucket list, and I understand how much I have to just breed pods just to keep it fed.
Yeah, I mean, or have just a very, very mature tank that's just, you can only have like really one for like a 100 or 150, 200 gallon tank. I mean, because they'll wipe out a copepod population pretty quickly unless you have that. Or what I found really good, I mean, I know we're talking freshwater today, but if you do like saltwater and you want to keep a mandarin goby, the real trick is to have a refugium underneath the sump, underneath the tank, and swap a rock out every once in a while. And then the copepods will breed down in there. You swap a rock, put it up in the tank, and then just come on flooding out. That's how you keep the mandarin goby fed. So, I ended up being able to keep it pretty well, but it was frustrating in the beginning, quite a bit of learning for about a year. And then I went to go work at Petco. I literally was spending all my money on fish. So I went to go work at Petco, and I ended up running the fish room in like 3 months. That shouldn't happen. But I don't know. I was really into it, and I started. I wanted to do more saltwater there, and they only had 2 bays, and we ordered through this wholesaler that handles all of their Petcos nationally. And I would call, and like I'd be the only person calling from Petco, trying to talk to this guy to see what I could get. And so what he ended up doing for me, his name was John, letting me order fish that we had under different SKUs because you only had a set small list. And I'm like, but I really want to sell this and I really want to sell that. And so that was kind of a fun way to get into it. But yeah, I mean, long story short, I got into it while I was going to school. I got out of school. I was working at Dallas North Aquarium while in school. Dallas North Aquarium is a very big retail store in the U.S., probably one of the largest. And I was doing all of their custom tanks and installs and kind of what you would see, in these big tank setups. Not like the ones on Tanked, but like the ones that, that go up in the wall or something like that. And I graduated from school. I got out of the fish industry. I didn't want to do it. And the fish industry just sucks you back in. Like it just, you can't get away from it because you love it. And so Fritz had been offering me this position for quite a while because the guy that's my boss now would work with me on Sundays at Dallas North. And he kept, hey, you would really like doing this. I'll give you the brands. You can do what you want to with it. You can be creative. And so I took 1 year of banking school. Like I went and got my financial advising license. I was licensed to the Series 6 and 63. I was able to, basically help you buy stocks. And a year of that let me know right away that's not what I wanted to do in my life. And I went back up to I tried a couple of things, really just nothing made me happy like doing aquariums. And so that's how I got back into it. And I took the job at Fritz, and the rest has pretty much been on display for about 7 years now. Fritz's name had dwindled to be pretty small. Their focus began to do private label. So we were making a lot of aquarium products in the industry at the time when I joined. It's just that we weren't making them under our name. So Fritz is a very large chemical and engineering company that services many industries, and they brought me in to take on this aquatics division. And I was just shocked that I had been using so many of the things that they had made, but just under someone else's name. And so it was my responsibility to take that Fritz brand and make the Fritz brand popular versus doing so much private label. So.
Yeah, definitely. And you've done a great job with that. It's definitely one of the top brands in any tier of any part of the hobby. So,
well, not in the plant community yet. Like, we've got some things that I love hanging out with you guys because, and this is why really I brought it into Aquashella is, man, I did my first Aquashella in Chicago, 2018. And I was reaching out to the local communities, right? Like the local clubs and just trying to get like the ticklet guys involved, trying to get like the Live Bear Society involved. And we had a lot of success. And I reached out to the Chicago Aquatic Plant Society, and I talked to Balin Shaw. And I was like, Balin, come to the show. I'll just give you a booth. I really want you guys to come and check this out. And he said that he might not be able to come, but you might contact the Aquascapers Collective. And then I met those guys, and the rest was history. Those guys were so cool. Like, they were so cool, every single one of them. And I'm like, you guys are superstars to me. I'm looking at the things that you guys scape and design. It's just unreal. And about 2 weeks before the show, Hep Hong got number 4 in the world for aquascaping in the big competition. And I was like, it blew my mind. I was like, this guy's coming to my very first aquarium show. This is insane. And so I really did my research to understand just who he was. And the more I researched the aquatic plant community, I was like, man, I'm sucked in. And I mean, I'm not the best planted aquascaper myself, because you really have to be dedicated like you guys. But this one right here behind me, I rescaped it, but it's really more inspired by the Aquascapers Collective. They set this one up for me at Aquashella Dallas 2019. They came and I had them do a live scape for everyone, and then I took that scape and I just videoed everything and tried to put it all back together just how it was. And I didn't do a very good job right away. So then Corey Hopkins, he works for Mike Sinsky now, and he came and helped me. So, but I've moved since then.
Corey's a good dude.
It's okay. It's not like you guys do, but I'm hanging in there. So
nice backdrop.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first time I did it. I literally I drug my daughter's baby chair over here, and this could be my backdrop, so I can have.
So Sean, going from the salt to the planet side, can you agree that it's just as complicated as the saltwater side?
This is what I think, because I've done both of them, right?
Yeah, me too.
I really was not on the freshwater side for a long time in the scene, because, I was your worst person. I was your worst example. I did not like freshwater at all. But that's because I had the wrong example of freshwater. That's because I had your typical, walk-in store, you don't see, you guys have really made famous the aquascaping community. It's gotten bigger and bigger. These names that Oliver Knott, he's getting the name out there. The big competitions are really kind of bringing up the aquascaping community to be more relevant and day to day, to where everyday people see what you guys do, which before I didn't. I didn't have a lot of examples, but saltwater was in my face pretty much all the time. And so I just loved saltwater. It was so much more colorful to me.
Yeah.
And the corals, they're from the ocean, and I just thought they were more flowing. And so I stuck on that side of the game. And even at the retail store, I kind of avoided the freshwater side. I just kind of helped the saltwater customers. Not that I left the freshwater customers unhelped, but there was plenty of associates. They could, so I just kind of, hung out on that side unless they needed me over there. So I never gave it a chance like I did once I saw what the Aquascapers Collective did. And since then, I would say that the transfer, I think that saltwater to me it's still beautiful in so many ways, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's as like, it doesn't bring me that serenity that the aquascaping, like the like a beautifully aquascaped plant tank does. It doesn't look as natural. Like if you drive by at night, someone that has a saltwater aquarium in their house, you will see a bright blue window. And
Yeah.
it's like everyone in the neighborhood's like, what's going on in that house? It doesn't look natural, right? And you think about like even like couples, right? Husband and wife couples. Have a house and a family, and you're trying to like, have nice furniture. You're trying to have everything flow, and then boom, this big, bright blue tank is just taking over everything. And so I've noticed it doesn't flow as nicely into a home, and I feel like the planted tanks do. I also said, so what I'm trying to say with that is like saltwater, I love it. I still think it looks beautiful, but it definitely doesn't flow into kind of I would say the modern home as much as nicely. It doesn't feel as warm and comfortable. Another thing that happens in saltwater is people take a bit of the ocean from every part of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
And then they put it on a shelf and display it. And it looks just like that sometimes, where they don't let it grow into itself, or they don't try to give it a natural look. And it looks like they've just kind of put show
Like a trophy case.
Individual pieces, yeah.
And I'm like, that doesn't look like they do on the, and I didn't really notice that at all until I started looking at all these Aquascapes tanks and was like, wow, they made it look like you cut it out of like like a planted lake, like somewhere down in there. It looked this beautiful somewhere. And it was like the way that they microsize it, like where you see the depth, the way that you build it, and you use lots of small fish and stuff. You can make a 50-gallon aquarium look like a world.
Yeah.
And so I don't see that very much on the saltwater side. I still love it and appreciate it. I've got my own just on the other side of the house. But I do like that about freshwater. I would say it's easier to the freshwater side, and not probably to the extent that you guys do it, but me, I can let this thing grow pretty wild, and then like just do a giant water change, cut up some things, rip out some stuff that's not supposed to be in there, and boom, it looks magnificent in an hour. And I could have neglected it for like months. You can't do that in saltwater, because if you do that in saltwater, like things
You'll have bag crashes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the difference. Well, so like Dutch scapers, like actual Dutch artists, their hands are in their tanks every day for like 3 to 4 hours, maintaining those plants.
But they know,
so like you get
this
into
is
that side of the
6 meters
freshwater
a day.
scaping, it's nuts.
Yeah, and you have to understand, I'm not doing that. So
Right.
But with these, when you see them cut like the baby tears like so close and do all that stuff to keep it finely manicured, I know that that stuff is insane. So, but for your normal hobbyist, I think that you can. To me, I think that you can achieve, a beautiful planted tank faster than you can achieve a beautiful reef tank.
A lot cheaper too.
I was gonna say, depends on how much money you got.
Exactly.
Yeah, you
That's
can
what
bring
it boils down to.
So, but both of them are beautiful, and that's really why I kind of like both being represented at Aquashella, because there seems to be like a battle between the two sides. Like, if you love freshwater, you can't love saltwater, but I love them both because they both have a different thing that they give you. Like, I love to get a zoanthic colony in a saltwater tank and watch it go from 4 polyps to 8 to 12 to 16, and it starts growing on the rock, and you're like, dude, these are beautiful. Like, I love watching frog spawn heads grow out and then just split out from each other, and it just takes over an area, and it's so beautiful. So I think that I would like to see the two communities start to go across the aisles at Aquashella, and I've seen them start to some of the planted people.
Well, so it's funny you bring that up, because I keep both up as well, and I actually like to keep my saltwater tank a lot easier with mushrooms and stuff like that, and clownfish, like those sentimental type of things.
That's the way.
But my planted tanks are gonna take twice as take the time of an SPS tank. Once I start getting it rolling and everything.
To do it at your level, absolutely.
but it's interesting with on the I've noticed on the saltwater side the negative spacescapes and everything. They've started taking some of that depth and that aquascaping skills and tradition and actually integrating it into their. I mean, you've seen how many companies have showed up doing those artificial rockscapes nowadays. Like,
no, I have
it blows
seen
my mind.
I see that. I'm seeing that type of scaping start to be influenced on the saltwater side as well. You know, I don't know if Aquashella has anything to do with it. I hope we contribute to that. I hope that you know, and you know, the number one complaint I get is when I go around and I talk to people about Aquashella or yeah, really just come into Aquashella. I'll go into a store that specializes in saltwater. I'm like, oh, so are you guys gonna come to Aquashella? And they go, oh no, that's not my thing. I'm like, oh, you know, obviously they don't know I'm the owner at that time. You know, so I'm just like, well, what is it that you don't like about it? It's like, oh, they have too much freshwater. And I'm like, oh, well, you know, they have, you know, 50 coral vendors and, you know, tons of manufacturers and 4 speakers. There's actually more speakers at this show than maybe another one that they say that they do like. And I was, there's a lot of education, and they go, oh, I didn't know that. I kind of thought it was more of a freshwater show. I'm like, no, it kind of represents both. But then while I go into a freshwater store that focuses on that, they're like, they don't have enough fresh water. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, do you realize that there's more fresh water at Aquashella than there was at the aquatic experience in so many ways?
Right.
Like, there's more going on. I mean, I know that they were an amazing show, but I was like, there's, when you count up the booth space and the space dedicated to it, there's more. There's flower horn contests. There's cichlids. There's the, you know, you guys with the aquascaping side. Like, I really want to build that side so that can be represented. The shrimp contest, which you're very familiar with. And I'm like,
I was gonna talk about that in a second.
right. And I'm like, and then like I said, there's like 5 freshwater speakers. There's an aquascaping head-to-head contest. I was like, you don't find that stuff interesting? And I was like, well, I do actually. I'm like, all right, you're coming then. I'm giving you a ticket just so you can show up and see what. But that's my worry, is that there's this thing like, just because it has saltwater, it can't be a serious freshwater show, or just because it has freshwater, it can't be a serious saltwater show. So I hope that we can kind of get over the hump with that. I think we have. I mean, we had about.
So yeah, let's go into Aquashella and talk about that, because like there's some cool things that I've noticed with your show. First of all, like, you do the fresh and saltwater side, and literally you can go to Aquashella's show and have your own. It's like write your own experience, because if you like reptiles, like, I didn't realize until this last Orlando one how many reptile vendors were there until I specifically looked for them and realized that. So like, even you can go to the Aquashella and it has a little bit of everything. But one of the coolest things I really like is the artwork, because you guys really got into the artwork side of, like, well, you started, like, I feel like the Aquashella really brought some artists into the hobby, you know, or made them feel included. So I've seen some vendors pop up in the last, you know, that you guys definitely had a vision on that. So go ahead and explain Aquashella and like how that came to be.
Well, you know, when the aquatic experience left Chicago, I think everybody was pretty bummed, right? Like, I was like, this is a good thing, and they're changing it. Like, why? Like, it was my favorite show to go to. It just had a good feel to it for me. I was representing Fritz, right? And so I loved Chicago. I loved the show. The feel was always so busy.
Yeah, it was our favorite show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Until
loving.
you put back the Aquashella at the same hotel, and it's like, it's the same vibe, but it's the Aquashella vibe. You know what I mean? Once you walk in, so it's better. You know,
and that's why we did go back and make sure that we tried to return it back to where it was. But like, you know, I really loved that show. And when they moved to New York, my buddy George came to me, which is a co-founder of Aquashella, and he said, you know, we should do a show. And because Aquatic Experience is leaving, we should replace it. This is ridiculous. Now, you know, and at this time, George and I had done the 50 Stores in 5 Days tour with Fritz, and he was such a young, like, energetic person. And it was my goal with George, because he had so many great and creative ideas, was to never, like, try not to say no. Like, try to be like, okay, well, let me see if I can make that happen. I just felt like compelled to see if, okay, maybe it's possible. Maybe we can get this done. But that one I was like, I mean, dude, that's a tricky one. It takes a while to find a convention center. They're expensive, and it's like, well, you know, I know someone that has access to a pretty large convention center. It wasn't the most perfect, like, you know, concrete floors so you can get them wet, wide open space so that you can really create the room. It was the White Eagle, which was, you know, it was certainly difficult to put the show on there because there was multiple rooms. It felt like it was very different. Some people actually really liked that aspect, but to me,
it had especially for like the shrimp contest, because it was like you walked into the room for the shrimp contest.
It was cool.
So
yeah, I mean, it was. Yes, I remember that where we put it there on the left side, back left corner, correct, and you had an area where you could. So it really had a good kind of heartwarming feel to it, but there's a lot of people that didn't like that. We were seeing a lot of complaints online that we just weren't up to par with the other aquarium shows, and that they wanted to have something that had better hotel amenities so that they can travel to the show, they can stay at the hotel, they can walk right over to the show. So we really did. The show was getting too big. You know, we did Aquashella Chicago, and then Aquashella Dallas. I mean, we had like 2,900 people show up to Aquashella Chicago, the first one, and it did okay. Like I was like, that's pretty good for a first show. Like I can't be upset with it. But we got so close, like 90% of what I wanted it to look like, I was able to get there. But I was so upset with myself because I couldn't get that final 10% done. But it was like painting a picture. Like until you complete it, you can't see everything. And so I was so upset with the very first Aquashella because it didn't get. I ran out of time because all these things were so complicated to do. Like it brought up the art. The art was just like something that, as George and I thought of the show, we were like, we want to be different. I didn't want to be the typical show that had just giant, corporate banners around everywhere. I wanted it to be artistic. I wanted it to be fun. I wanted to feel like it was created by people that were hobbyists themselves, and so we went with the arts theme. I brought in. When people would post stuff on Facebook, I would contact them and be like, "Hey, come! I'll give you a booth. I'll just give you a booth at the show. You bring your stuff, and I want people to see what you're doing." And so I called like 10 artists, and I drugged them to the show literally because they hadn't done anything like it. And George had showed me this picture of like a black light room that had all the basically what is the aqua crib today. And so we were like, okay, we're going to create that. We found Raphael Campos, who did street murals in Chicago, and he was a big aquarium fan, and he called us and was like, I want to contribute. And we just lucked out because Raphael brought that cool side. Michelle Albright in Alaska brought all of her stuff. And these artists that we gave free boosts to started to help us design the show and started to make it more artistic. And I really feel like that created a culture and an attitude that really kind of set our path. And so we brought in the art, and then we were lucky enough to meet Rob pretty quickly. Rob wanted to do the shrimp contest and was like, no, you have to do the shrimp contest. We absolutely must. And so he brought that component in. George knew a few of actually it was Rob that really, I think that knew some of the other influencers like Michael Dobby and Corey McElroy from Aquarium Co-op, and contacted them, tell them that they had to come to this thing that we were trying to design. And we got the influencers to come out to the very first one, and they filmed it. I knew Dustin from Dustin's Fish Tanks. I called him up. I said, hey man, you got to come and just check this thing out. And he made a video, and pretty soon, like what we were doing was on a big stage. By the time we got to Dallas, we had to turn like 1,000 people away at that facility. Like we had 6,700 people able to go into that room, and we had to turn so many away. It actually was so bad for us, like, because people didn't go to our Facebook and make a positive review about the show as much as they did. We never got in. These are the worst people ever. And I'm like, well, that wasn't our intention. We had no idea that many people were going to show up. We put out pre-sales, and we still had room after pre-sales, and nobody that bought a pre-sale ticket didn't get in. It was the people, like the fire marshal came and said, "You're not letting any more people into this facility." It was 50,000 square feet, and we just sucked it up, and it was
packed. If you had to get from the entrance all the way to the shrimp contest, it wasn't even that far. It was just shoulder to shoulder, packed like sardines. And it was. We had people that drove like 8 hours not able to get in.
And to me, I was like, why didn't you just buy a ticket like before you came? It was only like $20-$25 at that time. I mean, we're not much more than that now, but like, why not just, if you're going to drive 8 hours? That was my question. But I can understand no aquarium show had ever sold out in the history of anything. So it's just like, who would have thought that it would have sold out and you wouldn't be able to go in? But I mean, people were offering me cash, hundreds of dollars at the front door to let them in. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I cannot. Like, the fire marshal has told me not one more ticket sold. He did let me, anybody that showed up with a ticket bought already, because he could go into our ticket system. We walked into the ticket system. He knew the capacity of the building. He saw where it was now. And he said, okay, this is how many people I think you got in. This is how many people that haven't checked in. We have to leave room for them to come in. And plus, this is so packed. You don't want to pack more people in this anyways. It's uncomfortable.
All right.
So we had to turn away all those people, and I felt heartbroken. And they took it to the internet. And it was just like, we failed. And it was so sad because it's like, you don't know how much work goes into this thing. I literally walked that floor and spaced it out myself like 100 times. 100 times. I took video of it. I'm like, this is going to go here. And then I got into like master planning, like, with the Microsoft products that I can't remember the name of it because we moved on, Visio. And I'd space out everything. And I just had to make sure that it wasn't going to go south. And so when everything came together and everybody showed up and it was beautiful, I was happy that all these people showed up, and I was so proud. And then when people were yelling and screaming and upset, I realized I realized how they felt, but it kind of ruined it. And so then I was pretty disappointed that I didn't get a large enough facility, or I didn't spread the message out there faster that could happen. And then we had a bit of a situation on social media where you go and leave a review on our Facebook page, and even though everybody that got in thought it was a 5-star show, the people that didn't get in turned it into a 3-star show. And so we had to do some fixing. So anyways, there's a long-winded answer. That's how Aquashella was created.
So it's funny that you brought that up, because the influencer thing, that was a really cool idea from just bringing all the influencers, and because I always try to explain what makes Aquashella different from other shows. And I say that usually the customer base is a lot more willing to learn, or they're asking questions overall, versus trying just to outcompete knowledge wise on, corals or something. It's more about the customer base. It's more about people who are stopping by. There's a lot of people that are learning or new to the hobby and stuff like that. But there's also the influencers that, it's a lot of people that are meeting their heroes, like their internet heroes a lot of times. I think it was the Dallas show. I remember Chris Lumkum from Germany was sitting there on his laptop. Nobody's paying attention to him, and Corey had a line of 50 people just waiting for an autograph for him. And I just thought that was the funniest thing ever.
Chris Lukop, I had read his books before he came to Dallas, and I was like, this is amazing. Chris Lukop is coming. And then he showed up, and he was the nicest guy in the world.
He's the best.
I was like, you are awesome, dude. And he liked me. He was like, dude, this show is crazy. I can't believe this. He told me
he's an artist. You incorporated both of his worlds into one. Yeah. So he was just in heaven over there.
Yes, he was so happy. And then we made friends, and Corey McElroy gave me a signed copy of one of his magazines, and I was super excited. But I went to go get him. He wanted an Aquashella shirt, and I was like, "You're not leaving out of here without an Aquashella shirt." I imagine Chris Lukop wearing. Yeah. I mean, because Aquashella was less than a year old from concept at that time. Literally, we thought of the idea in May of 2018. And we put on our first show in August of 2018. And we had Dallas in March of 2019. It was less than a year old, though, just coming up with the name. We didn't even know the name. And in 10 months, Chris Lukop is at the show. You don't have anybody able to get in the door. You have, Joey DIY, Corey McElroy, Aqua Pros, Dustin's Fish Tanks, Rob from Flip Aquatics. We had Ray Levy, Aquascaping, Evie Anderson, and some of the biggest names in the industry. It would have blown up, and I was super excited. Except for like the bad feedback on Facebook, like that, like kind of put the fire out a little bit.
Now, with negative feedback, and you brought up T-shirts,
yeah.
I gotta ask: will you be bringing back any T-shirts from the Orlando shortage?
Yes, we will. And so how that happened. It's just like all these things that you don't think about, right? And it's like none of it's like super intentional, right? Like, it's Aquashella is not my full-time job. Fritz is, right? And so, and it's none of our full-time jobs. We're trying to do this to make something magical, but really, we none of us could make a full-time job out of it because, we're not charging crazy amounts for booze. We're not charging crazy amounts to come in the door.
And it's only 3 shows.
Trust me, in the trade show area, Fritz will pay $1,500 to thousands of dollars just for a 10x10 booth. And we realized at Aquashella that if we did that, we would cut a lot of the coolest vendors out because they just couldn't simply afford to come and bring all their cool plecos to the show. And so then you're killing the show by making the booths too expensive. And so then like you're stuck in a place where, okay, I can't charge more for that, but the facility is going to cost a crazy amount. So really, in order to keep it magical, you got to keep it slim. And so all of us still have to work on doing something else. And so this T-shirt thing, we're trying to make the experience better for the VIP because I don't like how the VIP guys, they spend an extra, and really what the VIP cost is just, you're paying for 2 days and a T-shirt. You're not paying, like, you're just committing to going both days and buying a T-shirt, and now you're VIP, right? Like, it's like some people are like, oh, that's a crazy price. It's like, well, if you were going to come Saturday and you were going to come Sunday and you were going to buy a T-shirt,
right?
It's actually a $5 discount at that. And so that's what the VIP costs. But I hated watching them come through the door and their entire first hour of the show, they're in line getting their T-shirt. Well, that's not what I wanted. I wanted you to come into the show and get started. You're not waiting in line for your T-shirt and ruin your VIP experience. And so I was trying to get away from that. And so I told John, who's a wonderful guy that works with us, and he does a lot for the website, hey,
wonderful guy.
Can we fix this? Can we fix this? And he said, I'm going to look into it, right? And then he never really got back to me. And the way Aquashella goes is, Grant will call me, someone on the shrimp side. Then the Sika guys will call me, and then the plant guys will call me, then the reef guys will call me, and like there's an entire show to build. And so I threw that at him in his side, and then I never checked back up on it. He never got back with me, but he fixed it without saying anything to anybody. And he made it to where you could pick your size on the website, and then basically, everybody's size would be accounted for, and we could pull it aside. And if you're VIP, we can have your T-shirt ready to go. And there's so much going on that we literally just fixed it and then forgot to like put it in play. And so now all these people come in and they're expecting the shirt size. They're still waiting in line. I haven't gotten anything done about that. And people are coming to the thing, and we put all these new designs out there this time, and they're just buying T-shirts left and right. And we weren't able to hold back what we had promised. And so we did order. We basically contacted everybody and said, hey, if you didn't get your T-shirt size, let us know. And it turned out to be a very expensive mistake because we had to order the T-shirt again now on a limited run, which is much more expensive than buying 1,000. You got to buy, I think we bought 180. And so we bought 180 T-shirts versus, or maybe it was a little less. Joanne's probably watching and going, you're all wrong, Sean. But we bought like 100 or something. And we now have to ship them to each and every person affected. So that's going to be like $6 or $7 to ship it, shipping it economical. And so then,
if I wasn't a VIP though, I can't buy an Orlando one at the Dallas show here in 2 weeks.
I can see. I think they're doing the run now. If you need an Orlando one, I can try to get one done for you because they're making that limited run now.
I would like one for me, and then there was one very angry club member of ours, very old, sweet guy. He goes
Dude,
to all of
I
our
know that guy. I
clubs.
talked to him.
I go,
talked to him. He
oh
made me
man,
feel like
hey
I was
Bob, how's it going? How'd you like the show? And he goes, the t-shirts suck. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And we go over to the booth, and I show him the t-shirts, and they only had kid sizes, and that made him even more mad. But he thought it was just the Supreme ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That style.
And
I
he's
think
not
I talked to
And
him.
that's an old guy. He wasn't
He
about
told
that.
me just what he thought of the t-shirt situation. I was like, listen, sir, I'm sorry that we don't have that t-shirt anymore. Like, I really try my best to get enough, but sometimes I'll order too much and you have too many t-shirts. And again, you're trying to be, a cost-effective show. And
I get it, 100%.
So he was so mad. I ended up
It
giving
was first day, though. He was heated.
Yes.
First day sellout. It's
He
great.
didn't tell you I gave him a free t-shirt or something else. It's just here. You can have this one. Like,
He
he's
probably
like,
didn't take it, did he?
he barely took it. He barely. And
He's a wonderful old guy, though. I
he
can't.
was, I can tell he was
t-shirt
very
spoiled
cool.
his
He was
weekend.
not happy with me, but I was trying to let him know that I was cool too, and no reason to be mad at me, because like, what can I do? And so I thought for a minute. I was standing there, and like everything else got quiet around me. I'm like, okay, don't get back upset with him because he's being unreasonable, because he was being unreasonable with me. Like, if we're going to be honest, like
I said, I
couldn't
couldn't believe how angry he was about a t-shirt because of how much of a sweet old man he is. He's the old guy at the clubs. He brings his little tiny Chihuahua dog. He does the treasury for us. He's like you know what I mean? And then
he gave me an earful. But if we're thinking of the same guy, it was an older guy that gave me an earful, and he said it was his first time at Aquashella, and or maybe it was
his second.
His second time. He said the first year it was great. This year you guys lost your way.
All because of the t-shirt. It was like you guys didn't try hard enough. Was it what he said? I was like, because of the t-shirt? I was like, did you see the walkthrough? Did you see all this, the Aquascape contest and everything else we got going on? I was like, man, you are upset about the wrong things.
Well,
somebody probably bought his fish ahead of him right before he lost out on a t-shirt.
No, honestly, I was his first stop. Like, that was his first bit. Like, he came right to the t-shirt thing. And so, but, I just was like, listen, I love getting, all different types of age groups coming to the show. And I checked my attitude. I was like, okay, don't get upset because he's getting upset with you. Just make his day better. Give away a t-shirt. What's it cost to you? Like, just try to make him happy. And I'll
pay for one for him. It'll be my present towards him so he can come to the next show. So it's on me, man.
Let's make him happy. I will call my t-shirt printer tomorrow and see if I can get it. But just remind me, because
I got you.
So much going on. So okay. So, but I know we have questions about the aquascaping situation, right? Like, I know that
before we got into that, let me just talk about the shrimp contest real quick. All right. So, as many of you know, me and Shelby and Rob from Flip Aquatics are in charge of running the shrimp contest for Sean at Aquashella. It's an American shrimp contest. It truly is a beginner shrimp contest trying to get the Americans ready for the international show. Because as Sean saw at AE, I mean, they had 150 tanks from people all over the world, and it's just me off on the side with all the international competitors. And I'm just going around. I'm like, oh, man, I hope I don't stand up here and not win anything. So, I want other people to be prepared so, we can all be entering into the international contest and have a better chance. So Eric Lucas and myself were really winning most of the awards at the American Shrimp Contest. We decided to step back. Eric is lead judge, along with Jerry and Joe. The three of them will be judges. Me and Shelby, we run the show. We set up all the tanks, make sure all the shrimp go in the tanks, acclimated properly, and then tally up all the judges' score sheets afterwards. But it really is like one of the little nuggets of the show. The really part that I love is all of the saltwater people coming over, and they go, oh, how much for this shrimp? And then they're like, I'm going to throw it in with my corals. And I'm like, no. These are all freshwater. And they're like, are you kidding me? You mean I could have something this colorful, this nice? And you'll be surprised how many of them set up a coral tank for the fire shrimp or the sexy shrimp or pistol shrimp or something like that. And then they see an easier way out with freshwater, a nice planted tank, and even more color. Because there's so many more different varieties of freshwater shrimp than there is of saltwater shrimp, at least in the hobby. Because I know you go deep ocean, you're going to find more shrimp than I have in my house. I get it. I understand that part. But in the hobby, there really only is a very select few before you get large enough, like the mantis shrimp and stuff like that are going to be like nano. And then a nano saltwater tank is so hard. So people think shrimp small, they want this fresh water. So like it really is such a big, like smile on my face when I can try and help somebody move from the saltwater side, the dark side, over to the freshwater side. And like I got a buddy that's at all of the saltwater shows, not saltwater shows, but he's a saltwater vendor. And I'm always, every single time, man, I'm like, man, we're just over here, we're reeling in your customers one after another at each one of these shows, because really some of these people, they just want certain things, and when they can find out that that's in a fresh water. So I tell everybody, like, listen, even if you don't think you have the nicest shrimp, if you have something that you don't think is going to be entered in the contest, please enter it, because Aquashella, Sean, is nice enough to give us this stage. And it really is. Aquashella is such a huge stage, not just the main stage with all the attractions and the contests and stuff like that, but the whole show around. There's so many hundreds and to thousands of people that go around to the show. Most of them have never even seen dwarf freshwater shrimp. So if you want to be a part of the hobby, if you sell shrimp especially, like every time I enter shrimp and win shrimp, it is impossible for me to keep that shrimp in stock because everybody wants award-winning lines. So not only can you raise your price a little bit, but you can hold your price up a little bit higher in a market where there's so many people that are trying to, make a quick dollar buying and reselling. So it really makes a lot of sense for these breeders to enter in this contest. But it is a little bit issue with timing, it being Texas in the middle of the summer. Some of the higher end shrimp, they're a little bit more sensitive. So I got people a little bit worried about shipping. But like, if they're breeding their shrimp, taking care of their shrimp, Shelby's shipping out Galaxy Pintles all summer long. I understand they're juveniles, but you can increase the water volume. You can pack with a little bit of ice if you had to, and thick, nice styrofoam coolers. And if they're healthy shrimp, if they're bred by yourself and grown in your tanks, and you did nice water changes, kept your system healthy, you should have no issue shipping your shrimp in, especially if you do it overnight. So there's really no excuse to be entered in this contest. There is some people away on vacation, but you should be really planning your vacations around Aquashella at this point.
We'd love to get people doing that. I think we might have to move it from Dallas in the summer, and go with like maybe flip it around where you go to Chicago in the summer, which is
because it's got to be an issue with the coral people too, right? I'd imagine.
Well, it's air conditioned, and these coral people, the coral vendors, they ship their stuff in insulated boxes, and they ship it Southwest cargo. So they drop it off at the airport, and they'll have someone drop it off at the airport on that side of the world, and then they'll be already on this side of the world to pick it up from the airport. So it's like 3 or 4 hours, and they've got their coral in hand, and so I think that they've just kind of mastered that art, and they've even been doing it so long that they make little carriers for your coral that like fit in the spot, hold it in a place. It's really done well with that, and so perhaps you're not able to do that with the shrimp that are gonna like. It's just, and we actually don't do a lot of saltwater fish at the show. We just do coral. We'll do saltwater fish displays, but in the saltwater world,
there's a decent amount of clownfish at the shows, though.
Yeah, you have a clownfish breeder do really well, because it's so much easier than taking around tanks or something like that. But the freshwater side, I would say that I can see the heat. It is an air conditioning facility, so once you're in there, you're good.
I'm more thinking like the people that are flying and maybe shipping their own, homebred corals in, and they're using that big brown UPS truck, and it's not air conditioned, and it's brown and baking in the Texas sun. So like maybe FedEx is better just because it's a white truck. But like, isn't it ridiculous that all
Absolutely not.
postal workers don't have fully air-conditioned vehicles? Like, how are there not enough chocolate lovers in the world not making like an uprage roar about this? Jamie was nice enough to send me chocolate all the way from Canada. Even with it sitting on the porch for like half a second, still they're melted because my, the LVs aren't AC'd. So
Well, why are they gonna ship them to the show, FedEx or UPS? Like, they absolutely must use Southwest Cargo or you're like, because that is the way to do it. I mean, you'll get it in a few hours, right? Like, if you're in Florida and you need to get it to Dallas, you drop it off to Southwest Cargo an hour before the flight. It's gonna be in your insulated boxes, and maybe
just for those people that live like 2 hours away from the airport or something. I don't know. Yeah, I guess that they're traveling to the show already, but yeah, I get it.
I know.
So you drop it off on before
We
you
don't
get on
use
the plane.
we don't use the airport drop-offs in the shrimp industry. We just right through the mailbox. They're
Well,
super
that's to Sean's point. I mean, that like what Sean was talking about, how the saltwater world and the freshwater world needs to kind of talk. I mean, that's something I can see. That's something I can see you guys learning from the saltwater world, because like dabbling in both, like the way that the saltwater people handle their coral. If the shrimp contests, like if you guys had some mix up where you could like have the shipping coral, like shipping shrimp thing, talk. Yeah, like,
honestly,
that would work.
The one thing that you got to think about is there's saltwater and freshwater. I realize it's two different sides of the ball, but you guys realize that only 10% of households in the country have aquariums. You already are so much like each other because you're 10% of the country. Like 1 out of every 10 people has an aquarium like you. So you already have so much in common that you love aquariums. It's so, so I feel like there's so much potential for these two sides to really talk more and help each other out.
When the guy from O'Reilly's recognizes you and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got like a 75-gallon tank. I wanted to get shrimp in it. It's weird. You're the guy that walks in the store." And I'm like, "I gotta go, but yeah, here's the card." You know what I mean? It's weird.
Yeah. No, so I say that there's a lot you guys can teach each other. I mean, no one would have ever given me a chance to work with the Aquascapers if they knew that I was such a saltwater guy. But, when I met Hep and Corey and Sean, John Peeney, those guys, Art, those guys were so cool. And they just they made me feel like I was cool too. You know what they even did for me? They brought me, and I have an Aquascapers Collective shirt that's for me, like for like I have my own one. Like, you know how each one of the guys has their own. Like, I have one. I should have worn that on the show today. Like, I should have if I thought about it. But they were such nice people that they made me my own one because they felt like that they just thought we were awesome too for doing the show. So, but yeah, I mean, the point is, I think that you guys could teach each other a lot. And going back with the shrimp question, yeah, I think we will try to avoid such hot venues or hot areas when we do the show. And so if we're going to do a show in the summer, probably need to move it to Chicago, and switch it back around. But sometimes we're at the mercy of the venues and what they had available. And especially during COVID time, everybody, it was such a terrible thing. Like, sorry, I'll vent to you guys. Like, we were on a roll, right? Like the Dallas Aquashella was insane, 2019. Then Chicago we couldn't get a new facility because you had to get in the line for like a year on these things. And so we didn't know it blew up before we would have to commit to some place like the Schaumburg. And so we actually pushed
go ahead.
Huh? So we did the Chicago facility again. We had 5,800 people in that little place. It was crazy. They shut us down again on Saturday, and then COVID happens, right? And then we're shut down for like a year and a half. And, we had finally signed up for the big facilities, the Schaumburg, the Anatole here in Dallas. And it's making me sweat because I'm thinking, okay, what happens with this? And I'm not just when you sign up for the show, you're not just liable for the big room that you rent out, the convention center. You have to promise to sell 800 hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And if you don't sell 800 hotel rooms, you're paying for what you didn't sell. And
Yeah,
so
Joanne explained that to us at the last show, and I was like, I get all the stress now. I get it.
it's just like, I was like, in order to take this show to the next level, I have to do that. And so then COVID happens. I'm like, okay, wait, what? Like, am I still liable for all those rooms? Like, how much am I claiming bankruptcy here? What's going on? Because this is brand new. And so we went like a year and a half without having the show. Luckily, you know, like obviously they were pretty reasonable, and we just kept pushing things back. But the whole world was pushing their shows back. The whole
Right.
world was pushing their shows back. And so now, even now, to get a venue on a flexible format, like to avoid having it in Dallas in the summer, we had to take what we could get. It was or not have it, because you can't find a place to put on a show right now.
Thank God for Florida, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, Florida's very hard too. I have not fully picked a place for next year's Aquashella in Florida yet, and so it is because I didn't want to go back with
That they opened up first during COVID. Pretty much for everybody. Like even the UFC fought in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah,
first,
yeah.
you know?
Thank God that we had the opportunity. You know, and I'm sensitive to both sides, right? Like I definitely don't want to get political. I understand the true fear that, you know, people have about it, and so I was like, you know, hey, like, especially with Aquashella being a brand new brand, I wasn't gonna, like, you know, try to push having a show quickly, because then they might, you know, think that was, you know, poor import taste with so many people being concerned. I just tried to play it calm, cool. Once Florida opened up, I still waited a few months. I wasn't going to be the first show to go put a show on, because I didn't want people to say those guys.
Who was the first show?
Reefapalooza came on before us that year, and we kind of monitored that closely. And really were listening.
Is that why? Did they do it like kind of right before Aquashella, and that's why like some of the vendors were like a little upset on the saltwater side?
Coral vendors weren't happy because there was two shows before that. There was
The saltwater
swap.
Yeah.
There was that, and so all the consumers in the area really had already spent their money, and they really liked the show. The consumers did, but the coral vendors didn't sell as much, and so that was a fail for us on that side, because I'm trying to convince the coral vendors we're an awesome show, and then they didn't do as well, and so then it became Aquashella as a freshwater show, and it's just not for coral. And I'm like, no, that's not true. You have to understand the lurking variables here. This happened, and it's our first year in Orlando. They'll come back next year, and they did. And we were the first show this year that came, so people had plenty of money, and the coral vendors did really well. So the narrative changed a bit, and we were able to kind of get over that hurdle. But I'll sidetrack us the whole time here, so you're gonna have to rein me back in. But
I really liked how with Schaumburg at the Renaissance, at the aquatic experience, every year it seemed like there was dance moms in the next room over, and then an Indian wedding with the best smelling food. So the entire hotel
and drinks left on a platter in the back
of the best food. You know what I mean? And then you have Aquashella in the same venue, and there's dance moms next to us, and an Indian wedding again. I'm like, you got the atmosphere and everything perfect. How did you do it? It
was that. I thought there was a dog show.
There's a dog show up to the left of us, but we still had dance moms.
The dance moms,
right? No matter what, there's always going to be dance moms at the Renaissance show.
Yeah, we had dance moms at the Gaylord, right? We had the cheer community, right? And
yeah.
So around, there's so much stuff going on at that show, but I liked that the pet guys were next door.
Yeah.
The dog grooming side, because they all came to the show. The one in Dallas though, 2019, the Oddities show was in town, like the show that's like all the weird stuff, and dude, we got like 300 people trying to come over to that Dallas show, but that was the one that you couldn't get in, you know. Right. They were trying to get into that show, but those guys, I went over and checked out their show real quick before we went on. That was really cool too. So if you can try to coordinate these things when someone else is doing something great next to you, you can get some good collaboration.
So Sean, I keep hearing you say like about how things go to the internet and they get bad or whatever. Just from my perspective, like when I saw that Dallas sold out, I didn't go to Dallas 2019 when it was when no one could get in. I couldn't get a ticket or a plane ticket. when I saw that it sold out, I got excited. Like
Yeah.
in my viewpoint, because I'm all about growing the hobby. I'm all about making the hobby grow. So when I see an aquarium, expo sell out a venue of that size, I get excited.
Yeah. And you would your angle. You would.
So I think at that end of it, I think what came out of it was much more positive in the end, because you inspired a lot of people to be more into what they do because they saw that. And like, I gotta say, I'm one of them. That's like what kind of made me kick Aquascape more into full gear is when I saw an aquarium expo sell out. That was about 4 years ago, 4 years
ago. That was
ago.
my main goal. Like, and honestly, I still want to do it because I think the long-term goal with an Aquashella, I mean, there's so many more. There's so many long-term goals, and that you got to compartmentalize. So each category, I have all these long-term goals, but one of them, I want these shows to sell out within a couple of weeks of announcing their dates, and I literally want people to trade or go on the secondary market to buy one. Like, I want it to get listed on one of these secondary markets.
You want to be a black market show?
No, like StubHub or
I know, yeah.
Or like all these
you want dudes in jackets selling your tickets out in front.
Not necessarily. I want to leave a mark for not for the consumer. Do I really want that? But like obviously, I just want the place to get bigger. But it was part of my in my head that I'll know that we've been successful if we can be so popular that you have to rush to get into this event. Like a big concert would sell out, like a big football game would sell out, a baseball game. Why can't the aquarium community have its space like that too? And so that is what I'd want. Ultimately, I wouldn't want anyone to miss it. So
right.
I don't want to come off that way, but I do want to sell out an event like way ahead of time and be like, okay, guys, like, all right, we'll get it.
Wouldn't it be cool to sell out an event and be like, okay, the next room is also available. Let's grab that too.
So there's so many things that start off as a great idea, and then it keeps and then it turns into where people feel upset about it. But ultimately, yes, right? You just keep expanding, and then you go in the next room. But then there's lots of vendors that will be upset because they're not in the primary room. And they're like, well, we're in the second room. And
hey, then it's going to be the same thing with the vendors. You have to get in first or else you're not in the primary group, man.
Right.
It's that exclusive of an aquarium expo. You got to jump on it or
you're
going to miss out.
We're already like that with the vendor situation. Like, we sell out on the vendor side. Like in Dallas, we've been sold out for 2 months on the vendors, and you can't get a spot. And I hate that, right? I want everybody to be able to come. But yeah, I mean, that's ideal. That's what you do. You go and get the second room, right? Like Grant, you never let anything stop you. That's what I like about you. You just all right. There's nothing stopping me. I'm going to go do this. And that's why, Grant helped so much with the shrimp contest because, obviously Rob handled the shrimp contest. And so there really wasn't a lot of ability for Grant to come and talk to me very much because Rob handled it, right? Like Rob kind of coordinated it, and then Grant was helping Rob, and Grant just came straight to me one day.
Baby.
He just came
I've already got my 2 kids trained to do water changes.
Yeah. He's like, I have to talk to you. I have so many things I want to do with this, and I just really thought that was cool. And so, but yes, you do it. You go get the second. You grow it. You get the next room. But I'm sure Brian, since he's been to Areefapalooza, knows what the people say in the second room. Oh, we got in the second room. And no matter what, you're like, it's now the show is the bad guy for creating the second room. It's like we were money hungry or something. But no, it's surely, well, it depends on what your motivation is, right? If you just wanted to make more money, so you created a second room and you've got too many vendors, maybe that's a bad thing. But if we did a second room, it would be for the right reason. Like we don't want somebody not to be able to come, and we don't want a vendor that has done something amazing not to be able to show their stuff, In
my honest opinion, anybody that doesn't want a bigger, better show is just greedy because they want a smaller show with the same amount of people coming to it so they could sell more at their own booth. So, I mean,
yeah, we're trying to keep everything reasonable. Like, we are just the same as anyone else. Like, And then you said, I think Chance, you said something really nice where you're like, well, what you did, and I want to also say that I didn't really do it. Like, I mean, I just networked with some amazing people and got everybody that was good at what they do to come together, right? Like, and so I was just kind of the person in the middle, telling people we can do this, right? Like, let's all work together. And so there's so much credit to go around with Aquashella, and you
have a great team behind you,
dude.
John and Joanne, and then Adam. I know Adam stepped behind, but like Adam built a lot of the ground up. So
Adam is with the show now. The only reason why he was gone for a little bit is because he got Neptune got bought out by Bertram Capital.
Yeah,
Bertram
I know.
Capital said it was a conflict of interest, which is interesting, which is very interesting. And you just remember that Bertram Capital said to an employee of Neptune that it was a conflict of interest to work for Aquashella. So I thought that was interesting, but it may unfold. But so he wasn't allowed to work for me anymore at the Aquashella side. I was really bummed and disappointed too, because, you know, with Fritz, they let me do this and they see the good reason why, right? Like, it's networking. I'm meeting all the people I'm meeting Chance from Aquascaped. Like, I'm getting to know Grant. I'm getting to know Brian Covey. I'm getting to know Chris Lukow, Oliver Knott, like, you know, all the biggest names that you can go on. And it's my job to network, understand what those type of people need, and make products around that. And so Fritz saw it as a good thing, but like, for some reason Neptune said no, and we lost Adam. But, you know, then we're lucky enough to have Joanne, and Joanne does an amazing job. And
Joanne's awesome.
I mean, but then there's Michelle Albright, and then there's with the art side, because you guys had mentioned just how amazing the art was, and how that's one of the difference makers. Will Kent, he does the lighting. Do you know that we have a guy that does the lighting for Alinium or Coachella or like you know, some of the Evie's going to help me out. What are the other big names that he's doing? Miley Cyrus and Aerosmith. He does the lighting for Aerosmith, and he's doing it for Aquashella. Like, we don't pay him nearly enough to do that, but he does it because he loves the hobby. And he's the greatest guy ever too, if you get a chance to meet him. And we're surrounded. Like, that's like, Aquashella is not Aquashella. Like, the people are Aquashella. Like, it's just I'm so lucky to have so many good people around me. So,
and then before we get into the Aquascape contest, when we were at the very first Aquashella in Dallas, they had a scavenger hunt, which made them vote for the shrimp contest.
Yeah.
Can we get that back, man?
Yeah, we can. You know, that was John Cowan's idea. And he
we're gonna
you be telling John how much of a great guy he is.
If he was watching, he would go, finally! I get credit for one of my amazing ideas. And I have so many. And I play along with that with John. Like, I literally, even if I know it's John's idea, I will re-bring up the idea and act like I don't remember him bringing it up at all. I'm like, what if we did this? He's like, what? I said that like 3 weeks ago. I'm like, no,
I don't think you did, man.
Stop trying to take everybody's credit.
I'll throw like $100 donation to tgoeshrimp.com if anybody completes the entire scavenger hunt. Throw all their names in a hat, and then have drawings for people that want to give away that are part of the scavenger hunt.
We could bring back the scavenger hunt. Like, I think it's a great idea. It was a great idea then. A lot of people enjoyed it.
Might be a little too late, because we got like less than 3 weeks now.
It's never too late, John. John can, like, I could tell him tomorrow, like, hey man, we're on this live stream, and they brought back that this was a good idea. I just need you to make it happen. And I just walk out of the room, drop the bomb in there, and just give it to him and walk away, and somehow he makes it happen. But
in one of the scavengers, it should be you have to get like 10 creators' signatures or something like that. So they go around to some of the different YouTubers, because that'll make Scuba Steve's day so happy, because he goes to every single Aquashella and has every single creator sign his poster. And I'm like, dude, Steve-o, you should get like an award for this, because nobody else does it. And you make every single one of those creators feel special because you had them signed with all the other big names too. So
You know what we should do is you should do it where there's 5 ways to get there, or like 3 ways to get there, so you can pick your path, right? Like, okay, all right, so you do have to do something from this list, then something from this list, or you have to do 5 of 7 things here. You have to do 5 of 7 things here.
But no matter what, you have to vote for the shrimp contest. That's like the final thing.
And then you have 1 of 1 thing here. Go vote for the shrimp contest. No, I agree. That was really cool. It's just we have actually done a lot of cool things that we didn't ever do again, just because maybe we didn't get feedback
on outside. I got someone I want to call out. We're ready for that whenever you want.
Okay. Well, yeah, we could. It might not be too late to bring it back. I have a really good relationship with all the manufacturers in the industry, and so we had prizes, right? Where you could win things, and so if I could get the prizes done, I mean, it's in Dallas, right? And so we could. Jadrin from Jadrin Aquatics.
Yeah, he makes her stickers. Well, not all of them, but some of them.
He's a printer, and so he might be able to get it for me last minute. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think you just have to tell me that stuff, So I don't think anyone.
No. Hold on. Did Chattanooga Ed not bring it up in the meeting one day? Because I was like, Ed, I need you to do this favor for me, and he said he was going to bring it up in one of the Aquashella meetings. So maybe you're not a part of the creator meetings.
I'm not a part of that creator meeting.
Okay.
It's so like I just kept missing it. Like I just kept.
I won't rely on other people.
I tried to go to the creator meeting.
I'll just go straight to you, man.
Yeah, just come straight to me. That's what I told you to. Like you have so many good ideas. So just come.
Well, no, Ed took it upon himself when I said I want to bring back the scavenger hunt. He's like, "Oh, I'm talking with the board meeting tonight. I'll make it happen." So I was like,
I'm pretty sure that Rob said that Chattanooga Ed told him that was the silliest game he'd ever seen and that we should never do it again.
He wasn't there at the first.
You're gaslighting.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I can't be serious. But, yeah, we can bring that back. So let me see if I can make it happen.
I bet you could get Glowfish to donate like a couple kid tanks and get the kids involved in it.
Glowfish actually really just fell in love with that aqua crib. They were like, "Oh my god, this is our dream marketing."
Right.
System. And it really is, because the aqua crib, they couldn't be more of a place where you would be able to market Glowfish, right?
And they love kids too. So if you said, "Hey, it's for the kids," because like they're the number one thing that gets the kids involved to the hobby. And when I said, "Hey, my daughter's going to enter the Aquascape contest. She needs a couple things," Glowfish was just like, "Here, she's a kid. Get her involved. She wants to set up a tank."
Buckets of stuff.
Glowfish, those guys are super nice. They were so complimentary. They even grabbed me at Global, and I was walking by, and I have to wear 2 different hats in this industry. I wear a Aquashella hat and I wear a Fritz hat, right? But when I'm at a Fritz show, I really have to make sure I'm wearing the Fritz hat. And Global is definitely a Fritz hat show.
Yeah.
And I was walking around with my boss Mike, and we were getting every single vendor at that show was stopping me and saying, "Oh my gosh, Aquashella! Oh my gosh, Aquashella!" and talking to me about it. And they're like, he's like, "Do you even talk about Fritz anymore?" He was getting so upset. And then the Glowfish guys came over, and they just blew up. They're just talking about how excited they were. And I looked over at Mike, and he was just he loves the show too, but he does want to make sure that I delegate my time appropriately, that I don't forget that I still have to run Fritz. And so, but the Glowfish guys were pretty amazing, and I think that they're going to do a big feature in the Aqua Crib this time. I have to get back with I turned them over to Michelle because I couldn't really manage it, but I think they're going to do something cool.
Nice.
My local fish store has a tunnel that they have their Glowfish tanks in, so it's like completely dark, and they just have like that black light tunnel like in the middle of the store. And if you don't see the curtain, like you completely walk by it. But my kids found that in like 2 seconds and spent like 30 minutes in that tunnel.
Those guys are huge. Glowfish is a giant company. 5M or 5D?
It's
right?
5D Tropics and Seagrass, though. They both have dual rights, so they can both breed and sell them.
So 5D and Seagrass, but did you ever see George's video about the Glowfish?
So
where he made it seem like the Area 51 was really a Glowfish operation.
Yeah,
that's funny.
I also saw his video where he took Heiko Blair to a fish store, and I had to help him quote the great Bill Shields himself, who is the original breeder for glowfish, to fix a couple of things in the video. But
maybe, yeah. I mean, George is so young. He's done that.
It wasn't him. It was the other guy. I don't
Heiko.
discredit him. He's
Heiko.
a little anti-genetic fish. He loves his natural, so because of that, he is a little biased.
There's a lot of people that don't like the glowfish.
I can just imagine.
Oh, it is. It's a huge like
controversy.
Yeah, it's taboo in most of the.
You know what I
hobby.
think gave glowfish the worst name is the invention of painted flashfish before that.
Yeah,
because that was truly awful.
Well, most of the people, if you're not in the hobby,
and all that.
they assume it's that or injected dye.
So
even with the axolotls, I'll make a post, and out of nowhere, some random person that's not even in any aquarium group is like, "That is so wrong," and I'm like, "Listen, it's literally a gene out of a coral to make it look like that."
I think anybody walks up to like the different colored flowers that are at the florist and be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe what you've done to these flowers."
Yeah, I'm really upset when Home Depot paints their orchids purple and blue.
And that happens. That happens in my world.
No, it does happen.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah, no, there are snobs. There are people that are genetic snobs in the plant world, hardcore, especially on the aeroid side. When you get into the terrestrials like paludariums and living walls and stuff like that, oh man, yeah, like hardcore.
World, I can understand and appreciate someone that doesn't want to alter something, right? I mean, like, imagine if they genetically altered the people, right? Like, I mean, like, there would be people going crazy about that. But
I'm down for it.
Well, I think that they are now, right? Like, like, not to dive too deep in the well, now you can get to, like, if you pay enough money, you could decide, you know, what sex your baby's going to be or whatever. So it's an expensive process. But so I guess technology is evolving that way. But the glowfish guys seem nice. At first, I was the same way where I was like, whoa. But I was really more thinking about the painted glass fish, right? Like, that was a true shame. So, but these guys
and the tattooed parrotfish that are coming out with the hearts on them and stuff like that, like that's the next wave of like, if you have one of those in your tank, I hope you get reamed for it. You know, that's horrible.
Yeah. So we at Aquashella definitely want to push things that are good and healthy for the industry, and so and that's why you won't see like certain influencers at our show that do bad things with fish. You know, because we're like, no, we've reviewed your channel, and we simply can't let you be featured here because there's so many people trying to get things out for views. We really won't get behind that. So Aquashella tries to be neutral in so many ways because we don't want to, you know, pick sides on two things that can be positive. But you know, we will in that case.
So back to the topic at hand here. You did mention that there was some changes in the Aquascape contest.
Yeah.
Kind of the biggest one we're concerned about is the no more bringing of your own Aquascape materials. And I understand this. I personally like this rule change. For many of the biggest reason that you're doing this is because you want everything done live and at the Aquascape contest itself. You're putting on a show, a live demonstration for, you know, the people to come in on to view the Aquascape contest at Aquashella. So you want it to be done there. You don't want it to be pieced up at home and then just dropped in a tank and then filled up with water. So I really like that idea. Just kind of worried, I guess, about materials. There is that limitation.
Right. Yeah. So let me just dive into all that because honestly, I really trust me, I got lots of messages from people when I put that post out there, changing some of the rules. And, you know, I'll try to like put you in my shoes and the intention and the heart of Aquashella when doing, you know, making the decisions that we make. Because I do.
Can we start with your vision for the thing first before we do that? Because I think that'll probably just give us a level playing field on what you see that contest being.
Well, I think I have to be able to. I have to go about it this way, where I tell it that way, so that way I can kind of give you a better picture of what we're trying to create. I would say that you're right, Brian. Like, we want to make this a awesome contest that we don't want to be very like so stuck in our rule sets that we ignore valuable feedback to make it better. And I've heard complaints about other shows in the past, other contests in the past that could get better if they would just do this, or they could bring more exposure if they just did this. And so I like all the other contests I've heard about and have nothing but respect for them. But at the same time, Aquashella has always been different with everything, right? So it's just kind of like we try to break the mold, we try to make it more translatable to maybe like a hobbyist that didn't know anything about aquascaping. We want them to start knowing things about aquascaping, and so we're trying to bring more exposure to it. But also, Florida was my very first shot at trying to do this aquascaping contest, and the guys from Fluval came to me and were like, "Hey, we want to do an aquascaping contest, and we want you to be the brain behind it. We want what you've done with Aquashella, we want you to do with aquascaping." Because I was like, well, and I'm like, well, I could do it this way, I could do it that way. I was like, no, just do it the way that you feel like you should do it. And so I really didn't have just a ton of guidance, right? I just like, okay, well, I know I love aquascaping. I know Jeff Miyake. I know the guys from the Aquascapers Collective. I know Jim Williams. I know, all these people. I'll just go and talk to them and see, try to start to research my way into how this is done. Called George Farmer and Mike Sinsky and really just took everybody's feedback, tried to put this together, and I wanted it to be different. Like, I wanted it to have like year-long exposure, right? Like, I want you to I want you to kind of like to have a playoff scenario or ways to qualify. I want there to be an in-person aspect. I wanted there to be an online aspect. So not only, and the reason why you do that, the in-person aspect and the online aspect to qualify was, the hope is eventually there's hundreds and hundreds of people submitting online, right? And so you're going to have a much thicker crowd of people trying to submit online than you would in person. But in person, you have to come out there. You got to bring the escape. You're kind of like limiting people that can go and compete in a certain region. But you want to create year-long attention to aquascaping by doing that. You want to create excitement by having some sort of playoff scenario. And then you still want to have the online aspect where people can go on social media, go on YouTube, they can talk about it, they can show what they're doing, they can kind of keep people involved. I pictured like influencers like Tanner Serpa, who's going to compete in Chicago, setting up a tank, saying, this is the one that I want to do in Aquashella. And he's got 1.2 million subscribers. And I want him to tell his entire community, I'm going to try to compete in this. I'm going to submit an online thing, and I'm going to see if I can qualify for Chicago. And that will bring more people to understand who Chance is from Aquascape, or who, Brian Covey is with Aquachar, or who Oliver Knott is, or who is Chris Lukop. Why is he sitting by himself when we have a giant line over here? Why don't people know what's going on with Hep Hong and Art Kamish and like these people that I think are amazing? Other people didn't know. And so my goal was to get the message out there by being creative. And so setting that stage, basically in Florida, is our first attempt at it, right? Like, Louisville's giving me free reign to do what I need to do. But I basically, talked with Jen, talked with Jeff, came up with as close to what I thought would be competitive and fun at the same time, and put it together while putting other things together too. And so, I think I missed on a few things, and I was really looking for feedback right away from that contest, which I think was fun because you could actually vote in person on the contest. You could see like the tallying going up, and like you could see if the person that you voting for was kind of behind some of the others when you put in your vote. It had a lot of social media exposure, and it's got even more this coming show. But I was really, limited for just how much time I could dedicate to it, right? So there was a lot of things that I could have done better, like having water at each station to make sure that people had that. I didn't realize how tough. Like Jim Williams told me, Sean, do you know how hard it was for me to get my scape here? I drove it all the way across the country, and she seemed exhausted by that. And I was like, oh my God, like, well, I didn't mean to make you drive it all the way. And like, I'm just like, okay. And then, Jeff talked to me for a bit, and he was like, I think that it would be great if you were to try to put some incentive on this, like maybe you should put some prize money out there for the, for the people when they win. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a good idea. Like maybe we could do that too. I mean, the each contestant does get $1,000 something the fluval stuff. So I thought that, like, hey, just for coming, you get a pretty good prize. But so I was like, okay, I don't want to be the type of guy that hears the feedback and then just resists it and doesn't do anything about it. So I'm like, I want this show to eventually be the coolest and most fun thing that, this part of the show could be I want it to be taken seriously as an aquascaping contest, but I also want it to be different. And I want people to go, man, we've been talking about doing it that way for years, and everyone had just stayed in their place. Like the only way to be different and better is to keep evolving. And so when I got Jim Williams' feedback about how hard it was to bring that across the country while also doing all the stuff she did at the Wasse booth and the Aqualife booth, she, I just didn't. I kind of was like, oh God, that's not what I wanted. All these aquascapers, and then Hep Hong tried to get a rock through security, and he missed his flight because he couldn't get it there. And so I was like, that's not fun. So, and then I started thinking about like Best Chef and all these other shows that are on TV, and then you don't have people bringing their own gear. So I was like, all right, well, if this is truly going to be like a competition where we bring some excitement, like let's bring in all the materials. Let's have so much materials. Jeff was saying that we should. So I was like, I can get somebody to sponsor like 5 or 6 pallets worth of stuff just sitting there. Where you imagine like people go grab the stuff and they run like so. Like as soon as the whistle blows, you got to be there. Another thing that I saw there that I didn't love was Hep Hong, and I love him. So don't take it the right way. He already knew what he was going to do, and so like Friday during setup, he wasn't doing his aquascape, or like Friday during setup, he didn't do his aquascaping thing. He wasn't there first thing Saturday morning. His tank's sitting empty, and then he just comes, and then like an hour and a half, boom, he gets it done, right? But I was like, I didn't really not want him there until Saturday, right? I want everyone there right at the beginning, like doing their stuff, and then if you're done, then great. At least there's that tank sitting there with it being done, and people can see what you did, versus seeing it empty for so long. And so, and if you had to go and get your supplies at the beginning, you're gonna be there right at the beginning, right? Like you're not gonna wait and have everything put together. And I had some people complain that said, hey, some people just had their stuff already glued, put together, ready, just drop it in and go. And there's really, I guess, nothing in the rules that would keep you from doing that. And so it's like, so that's not. Like, honestly, I wanted people to show off their skills and show off their problem solving. Like, I want people to see what you guys do to make these scapes, like to put them together, to take a box of rocks, a box of driftwoods, and you don't know what's in it and go, how can I make this look amazing? And I want to show my creativity. I want to show how skilled I am at that. And I don't want to show how dedicated I've been to this scape for the last year. I want to show just how creative my mind is and how quickly I can put this together. And so that's kind of the direction I wanted to go with it. And then I wanted to solve the complaint with taking the scapes across the country, because they said it's really expensive to get it there.
I mean, even from not across the country, I was coming off like 11 weeks of breaking my ankle, and I had to grab 400 pounds of the stone, because you never know what pieces are going to go together to build what we wanted to do.
Right.
And by the time we got there and I looked at my foot, it had swelled up 4 times larger than it had when I originally broke it, just from lifting all of that rock.
Yeah.
So I'm all for not having to travel, because gas alone driving to Texas would cost me, an extra chunk of change just driving that rock around.
And come, and then do it when you get there. And I think, honestly, if we want to bring exposure to what the aquascapers are doing and the aquarium community, that is going to be the best way to do it, I think, because people like we're gonna bring someone to film it, and when the whistle blows, there'll be someone filming, and then there's gonna be people running and getting
Is
stuff.
it gonna be like
putting
Black Friday, like throwing elbows, trying to get the first sale, or
That's why Shelby's on our team.
I really hope not, because I obviously, like, I expect some of the changes I made to be upsetting in the first place, but like we'll have to monitor it as it goes. But that's why you evolve.
You should do like a reward for like the last team to touch any skate materials, like last pick gets an extra like fluval tank or something like that. Because I know you got extras back there sometimes.
Well,
so I'm just saying, I'll let everybody go first if I can get an extra tank to bring home.
There you go.
But
I mean,
it's funny you bring that up, because like I actually Hip was in town for my local fish club. This is like 7 years ago, and we had bought a pallet of Tombar Manzanita between like 4 of the local people, and we pretty much did the round robin thing where we basically like one team picks, the next team picks, picks. And it's just so like the big, like, because like there's always like when you're aquascaping, there's always those keystones that everyone falls in love with and everything like that. And if you have somebody grabbing all of those as like a defensive strategy, the little stuff like that's not as big of a deal, but at least for some of the larger stuff,
Well, the idea is that we'll bring so much stuff that really
get the gems at the bottom of the pile if you're patient. You know what I mean?
I think,
but really, that's what the concern is, Sean, is that there isn't going to be that much, because we've been told in the past that there was going to be a dreamer escape amount of material, and then it's like, okay, I'm doing this 50-gallon tank, but I really only have enough material to do a 30. So then it's compromised.
So I think, to answer your question, the way that evolved is, I got that feedback from Jeff Miyake and Jen, and I was like, okay.
You know the story.
I don't think there's anything I can do about the bringing all that stuff. It's really expensive to ship, and I don't think I can have a company bring that much stuff because of just the cost to get it there. But the next week, literally, maybe a couple weeks later, I was at Global Pet. And I was sitting at a dinner with the guy from saltwateraquarium.com, and Ken Brown, and Mark was there as well. And he brought a couple of other guests, and one of them was the owner of Pisces, and Pisces supplies rock for so many places, and driftwood, sticks, and rocks, and so I explained what we do at Aquashella, and that honestly, we're trying to find somebody to donate and basically create that contest to be even cooler. It's just like, what do you want? Well, what do you need? Well, how much do you need? And like nothing was a big deal. I was just like, well, it's like, yeah, you can, all right, I'll send it. I'll give you 4 pallets of rock, 2 pallets of sticks, whatever you want. And she just said yes to everything. So I was like, oh wow, I was so excited. I was like, I can't wait to tell everybody that I solved the traveling with the aquascaping materials thing.
So is that what it is then? 4 pallets of stone, like
four different types of stone? I think it's 6 pallets total. I don't remember if it's 4 pallets of stone and 2 pallets of sticks, or 4 pallets of sticks and 2 pallets of stones. But it really, Joanne Vega would know that, because I handed that relationship over to Joanne.
Is that secret information, or is that like okay for me to
go?
No,
it's not a secret at all. You could. And then I also, if there was a situation where, hey, the shipment didn't arrive right, or hey, it got there and it didn't look right. DFW Aquarium Supply is also right down the street, and they bring truckloads of sticks and rocks in, like literally, so much. I just filmed a thing there last week where I was picking out scaping materials myself, which I didn't do bad. You guys would be proud of me. I did great, because I've got a videographer following kind of Fritz around and me around now, and we set up these tanks in a studio, and I had to escape my own, and I never thought, like, I was really kind of shy about it before, but I could do all right. So I picked out my own rocks and my own sticks, and some of these sticks are just unfair these days, guys. Like the stuff that they are bringing, like it just comes right out of the tank. Like literally, it's just too good already. Like I literally had to place it in the tank and put some what type of rock was that? Mountain stone? I think it's mountain stone. It's mountain stone. It's gray and beautiful. Like is that mountain stone? It is the coolest looking rock, and I just put some of that around like one side, stacked it up, poured dirt on top of the back end, so it had different levels, just like I'd seen Tanner do or one of you guys do. And that I was done in 15 minutes. I walked away and I was like, "This thing is sweet," but that stick, it was a like dragon root or
dragon wood. It's like a dragon spider wood. Yeah, it's super gnarly rooted and branchy. Yeah.
Dude, that thing, I just put it right in the middle of that 4-foot tank and it just went right out of the top.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the most badass thing. Sorry for the language, but yeah.
We're over 45 minutes in.
And so yeah, and I was done. But anyways, let me get back to this. So I'll definitely let you guys know what scaping materials we have. If there's not enough, I can always go get more because that whole wholesale facility is right down the street. So I could go get more sticks if we don't have enough. I can go get more rocks if we don't have enough. We're lucky in this situation in Dallas where we have it because DFW is down the street. I feel confident that Pisces understands what we need and they're sending the right stuff. But if there's something that we get into a jam, you guys aren't going to be stuck with nothing. There'll be plenty. And then we'll get a chance to look at this and see how well that worked, know exactly kind of what we need for a situation like this. And by the time we get to like the finals in Chicago, we'll have already done it and tried it. And that's why we need to change it now. And so because we needed to have the opportunity to do this when we had a buffer and capacity to understand just what type of materials we need. We also need to do it now is because why let one more person suffer? If it's terrible to bring the aquascapes across the country, if we should add a prize component to it to make it more interesting, well, like instead of just waiting for a whole nother year, let me figure out how to fix it today. And my hope was that would show everyone in the aquascaping community that I'm listening and that I'm trying to get it better. And that, you know, if you give me your feedback and you say that we should do it this way, it'll be more fun, or we should do it this way, it'll go smoother or be more exciting or be less hard on us, then I'll try to make it happen right away. And so I was stuck with the thought like, hey, do I wait a full year to make these changes? But that's not fun. That's not fun to me. I want to change it as I can. And with the way you look at it, I think it's completely fair because advertise one set of rules and then you perform on those set of rules and people qualify based on that. And then you go to the next situation and you advertise another set of rules and people compete in that situation and then they go to the next thing. But there's people with the first and the second, they're not competing against each other. So they're qualifying within a set of rules. And so many things will change. Okay, you're going to compete with these sets of parameters and you got to go, okay, all right, and there are these types of conditions. This is what I'm competing for and this is what I'm promised. So this is it. And you sign up for that and then you kind of you work knowing what those rules will be. And so my goal was and my thoughts was it really shouldn't really affect the people that competed first, even though, yeah, I didn't want them to have to carry their stuff around. I would have loved to have budgeted or created a prize package for them as well. But again, you know, with the show really trying to dump everything back into itself, not trying to make booths too expensive, not trying to make entry-level entrance tickets too expensive, but then also being asked to have the big facilities so that you can have the hotel on site, so that you can have a nice clean concrete floor, that you can have plenty of space so you can get in. It just is two sets of demands from opposite sides that you're trying to accomplish all of it. And so I mean, the heart from Aquashella is in a good place to try to make it better now. And I think I was talking with Jim Williams on the phone with it, and I was like, listen, your grandparents had it harder than your parents, who had it harder than you. But with every step, you evolve, right? With every generation, you evolve. So if you want to get better. And so to me, I think that these sets of rules hopefully make it better. It is during a regional contest. If it doesn't make it better and it makes it not as good, then we'll change it before Chicago. But we'll at least have the time to do it before we get on a even more international stage where we're actually competing in the finals. So that's my thought process on it again. But anybody can give me their feedback and I can try to do what I can. But
So
I can only do so much, you know.
the other aspect of the competition is what plants are we are
I was just gonna ask, like, what the next one is
So-
plants,
Right,
and then
I'm sure
after that is
Chance thinking the same
livestock.
thing.
So,
So
yeah, I gotta make sure
You
I get
guys,
these
you
questions
guys
out.
ask it.
So with the plants,
I'm just
feel
here.
like I feel like you should be able to bring your own plants, because I don't know how I'm going to get all the plants that you could possibly need or want. Like, but then once you start bringing your own plants, then you're like, okay, well, you can bring
You
plants.
just gave me the advantage.
Right.
Yeah, that's all you did was
So-
giving us the advantage between my 300 tanks, 40
And
ponds.
my 5 greenhouses and
Yeah.
aquatic nursery.
my
So,
half finished
I
skillet.
have a stick sponsor. Well, I don't have someone like I do have some people that could send me plants, right? I could get the Florida Aquatic Nursery to send me a bunch of plants, right? But like, how do I have enough? How do I have the mixture that's gonna? I mean, I don't.
That was our concern with hardscape. So
Yeah.
like from an aquascaper standpoint, like hardscape is like, I guess a reefer would be looking at it like live rock when you're trying to make a frag tank out or make like your display tank out, you know, like that you search through
It's
hundreds of
essentially the
pounds
same.
of stone to find that rock.
Yeah, it's essentially the same. I get it. Like, and
When are
it's-
these rules going to be posted, though? Because I was under the assumption that plants were going to be provided. So we could have shown up all the way to Dallas and then been like, oh, I got to go buy plants from my own booth now to escape my tank. You know what I mean? Not obviously not, but
And so I probably should have brushed up understanding exactly what we were doing there right before I came on.
Oh,
But-
no, it's fine.
But I think Joanne might be dying on the other side if she's watching, going, no, we have plants coming. So I'll have to go back and check, because I do believe that we were going to try to contact one of the big plant guys and figure out, how can we get lots of plants delivered, but then, make sure that they're healthy, make sure that they're cared for the whole time. She may have, thought she may have somebody that she's partnered with at the show that's bringing so much stuff. And so let me double check on that answer. But I purely know how similar it is to the rock and sticks thing. And so if you're going to be able to bring your own plants, which I think we discussed last time, Grant, like, where do you draw the line? If you're able to bring plants, well, then why can't you
can I bring my own roots? Can I bring my own?
Can I bring this? Can I bring my own tools? Can I, like, what am I limited to? And it just blew my mind just sitting there listening to it, because you're like, okay, I'm trying to make this so, like, as great as I can be, but without me being, somebody that has been an aquascaper for years, maybe I'm gonna miss on a detail that I might not grasp if I had been an aquascaper. But one thing that I will do well in this is understand it from a marketing and social media, and if you're trying to get more people to understand what's going on in the aquascaping community perspective. And so my hope is that we can all work together. Even how, like Chance said in his message to me, he's like, let's work together to grow this thing. And so I do need everyone's feedback.
And that's, I'm just going to cut you off for a second. That's what I see. And that's like, so I'm going to be honest. I had a little bit of a beef with the change of the rules in the middle of everything and the hardscape and all that other jazz. But I look at the competition now a little bit differently. Like, before, I was coming at this as a true artistic competition, like full range, creative, artistic competition, to where you don't limit creativity.
Right.
This isn't, I don't see that as this anymore. This is an opportunity to grow the hobby. This is an opportunity to bring in people, to get them interested, and to have fun. And that's respectable and perfectly fine in my world. So that's and now that I see your vision and I understand and I heard you speak and I see your passion, I get it. I get it.
Well, and I think that's all that it takes with a lot of things. Everybody just has to get to know each other. And I understood from reading inside your message, I could see your passion in it too. So I wasn't offended by it. I was kind of heartbroken by getting so many people a little bit like upset with it, because I try to do things that would make everyone happy. And so like, it's like bringing something to your parents and you thought you did something good and you go, hey, look what I did, and then like and then
they crap on it,
realize that you broke something
If I can,
or that you colored on something that you never should have, right? Like, and so but I think that ultimately, I talked with Jen. I talked with Jen. I talked with Jeff a little bit. I talked with Mike Sinsky. I even thought, maybe I'll jump on a live stream with Mike this week to kind of talk to even more people to kind of say what we're trying to do with the show, just to kind of keep getting the message out there, because I just didn't want anyone to be upset with me. I wanted everyone to be happy, and so. But even to respond to your thing, Chance, like I want to try to create the intensity still, though. Like even though we are wanting to grow the hobby and have something that has so much exposure and fun, I still want it to be intense. I still want people. I'm looking at it from a point of view of like I want it to eventually have its international stage. My hope is, if the only way to do that were to be to let people bring their own escapes, I probably would. Like I probably would, because I wouldn't want it to be not taking it as seriously one day. Like it's not going to be taken as seriously right now as like some of your international competitions, because it's so new. But my hope is that it really will be something that gets so much exposure, so much video time, so much intensity, where people stand around to watch it or want it to. Like,
if I may,
yeah.
For next year or whatever, just something to toss around in your head. Like, don't allow pre-made scapes. Like, don't allow prefabricated scapes. So don't allow people to pre-glue and pre-build everything at home.
Right.
But bringing things in a sealed, black and yellow Tupperware that are all just individual stones, individual sticks, individual roots, and then building everything on site.
That might be something we could do.
Because I mean, as an artist, this is planned out, man. Like I had Chicago planned out. Like I had the tanks like pre-designed, like what we were gonna roll with and stuff like that. Like trying to be a little bit more professional in my head as far as what's getting put out there and what I'm sharing with everybody.
I completely understand that, and I'll certainly go back and talk with some of the people that I had kind of planned the ideas of the show around. And the competition, because really I don't want to limit people's creativity, and my hope is just to create a level playing field for everyone at the same time, so that you truly can have a great competition, but at the same time, hey, part of performing in a limited amount of time is practice at home, right? As athletes, they perform for a game, they have to work out, they have to practice, they have to throw the ball.
And you're making it so that you can't just throw a bunch of money at a tank and take a podium prize.
It's just so many variables too. And again, like I had no idea in creating the contest that I would be taking on some of the arguments between the variables. And again, I don't feel like it's like a negative argument. I feel like it's a passion.
No, it's all positive. It's all growth. It's all growth. Like my intentions are never to cause any detriment to the competition or anything. Like I just want growth. Like I love the competition, man. It's the only live aquascaping competition in the United States. Like I have to love it.
Well,
live aquascaping is my thing.
Not to embarrass the aquascapers in the United States by it not being good, So let's work together to continue to make it better. And I think we have the opportunity and really the open-mindedness as a group to make this something that internationally they talk about and internationally they fly in, because I want them to come here and I want them to share their passion for aquascaping with people here. And I want people to come to the show just to see this. And you like my Uncle Dan, he loves aquascaping way more than even I do. And you don't understand when he sees some of the guys that he's seen on the internet or on YouTube doing their aquascaping, he gets so super excited. I can walk him over and be like, hey, this is Jeff, or this is such and such, and he like literally is just kind of nervous to talk to them. That's what I want.
Your Uncle Dan's awesome, by the way.
He's the greatest.
He's an awesome guy. I remember hanging out with him on the show.
He is the greatest guy. But his passion.
Yeah, all the shows as a volunteer. Is that your Uncle Dan?
He's not. Yeah, I mean, he's essentially volunteering when you can.
His official role is Sean.
I know him as Dan. I don't know him as your uncle. I'm putting things together here in my head.
It's my Uncle Dan. He's still he's very nervous about COVID, so just for his family, doesn't want to end up, being wrong about something and end up getting someone sick. So he wears his mask now, but if you see him without his mask, it's this giant, like, white fluffy beard.
I know he is.
Yeah, we know.
Very nice
He
guy.
hangs out with Mike Esposito a lot. The two of them are always together.
So yes, he definitely makes sure that Mike Esposito is hanging out. And so I think sometimes Mike Esposito, he's such a nice guy that
Wonderful guy.
sometimes he doesn't feel comfortable enough to be, to invite himself to places. So Dan really works hard to make sure that he gets Mike to come along. But Dan's such a great guy. And what I was trying to say about him is I think there's a lot of people like him, like thousands of people like him in the U.S. that feel that way about the people that are on their platforms, showing us how to do this and really creating amazing stuff. And so my hope is that this competition will bring those people to the locations, and that's why you do a regional thing too, so you can try to have a tour a bit. You don't want to just bring it one place, right? Because not everybody will eventually be able to get in, or not everybody will be available during that time, or maybe it's too far, too expensive then for the travel. So you bring the regional parts so that you can give them a little bit there, a little bit in the next spot, and then hopefully some of them over at the finals. So just even talking today, thinking about the plants again, I think it literally blindsided me again, because I literally go from topic to topic to topic trying to make sure this is going to be good, this is going to be good, and I have to leave the space of planning the aquascaping competition for days at a time, and then something will sneak up on me. So I'm glad it was brought up.
Well, if you need help, man, you can always ask. I got a
too much
suggestion,
stuff already, Grant.
and I know Shelby has one too.
I'm available.
Yeah,
if you need help.
We're all passionate
I'll
about
probably
it.
call Chance first, because of the fact that Grant, you were doing so much on the shrimp competition. I can't imagine putting more responsibility on you. And you already do so much, and you have a family, and you have a ton of tanks. I got a videographer now, so I'm coming to do your. I'm gonna put you on the.
I'll have 400 tanks by then.
Yes, and so
I'm building
That
another rack
sounds
for
like
90
a lot,
tanks
but when you
tanks
see
right
it,
now. But Shelby has a suggestion before we wrap things up. I want her.
Kind of already said it.
Oh, Chance already said it. I'm sorry.
It's just being able to because it isn't fair when someone can put their whole scape together at home when some people work full-time jobs and other full-time jobs at the same time. So it's a little unfair with that. But Chance had it right on the head. If we're still to bring our tools, our plants that are a little bit special that you really can't get some of these plants. Yeah. Even if you were to get the biggest nursery, they're not going to have some of the plants that Chance has. They're just absolutely not going to have it in the care that they put into.
And that's what I was worried about. I felt like plants were more unique than sticks and the rocks that you could work with. And so I thought,
but offer both options where you don't have to have that much scape, but there are people there was a girl that entered in that scape contest. That's her first thing she's ever done. And, she was able to do it, but there's a lot of people that are like her that want to, that don't have the resources, especially anywhere near them. Our stores are terrible. I don't have anything near me. So it would cost me thousands of dollars to ship those rocks in order to get that. So giving it to other people, let general hobbyists also enter into the contest. But I don't know if you remember Aquatic Experience, how we had different categories: big tank, big people, and then smaller tanks, people that were more, it was a little bit easier for them to do. So I don't know if you remember that, but there is smaller tanks, smaller categories, and then the big tanks for the big dogs.
It is reminding me and making me think of that. I don't make fun of me, but I play a little bit of just lately of this Pokemon Go game, because I got to have something to just get away from real world. I just gotta be able to space out and
it's good with the kids too.
Right. Yeah. And
so the different level gyms.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you're not talking English.
I was thinking of the different Go leagues that they have in the Battle League, where you have the flying one, or right now they have the Great League and then the Flying League, right? And so in the Flying League, you can only have Pokemon that fly. In the Great League, you have to have Pokemon that up to a competition of 1500 CP. And then you have the 2500, and you have and then the no limit, right? And so, but it literally takes amazing critical thinking in each one of those categories where you have to go, okay, well, I never looked at the actual Pokemon like okay, what's going to accomplish this underneath this 1500 CP, or what's going to accomplish this underneath a flying. I don't really even see it like, small tanks would be different, like where I would ever use the word, like, not saying that was wrong, but say like where you say the big dogs go in the big tanks, but like, because the micro aquascaping might be even more difficult for some people. And you just said, this set of circumstances, who does
big
it
dogs is
the
people
best?
who had a lot of money.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And so, I mean, but I also would hate it to be decided by money.
An elitist thing.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that provide the stone and the wood would still let those hobbyists be in that bigger category. I'm sorry.
It just can't be
I didn't put all the words in there together to make sense.
but then wouldn't some people go, well, like, I
just
still
take one because they bought it. They brought in this.
Some people would give the person that brought it a little bit of a harder time because they're like, well, we scaped with the everyday.
Yeah, but you're going to have to make the rules hardcore. Then you're going to have to say, well, we're going to provide your tools, because I mean, you want to talk about tricks of the trade, like this is totally what do you have up your sleeve? Because I've got a lot up mine. Like it's
that's why
it's
we got a team here is because we got 4 sleeves.
And so and that's when you start to vote for, hey, less is more with the rules, because then you're like, okay, I'm going to still allow.
That's where I was heading with this.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's just, it's difficult. It's difficult to say there's a fine balance. And ultimately, I still think it's Aquashella is definitely an organization that is talking to the people and understanding where they want us to go to make this the best. We have not gotten to a place where we think we know everything already. And I don't think
it's the Dunning-Kruger effect, man. It's always, you're always going to be learning. If you get to the plateau of enlightenment too soon, what is it worth doing it anymore?
Yeah.
So, and just don't mistake any of the questions or feedback you get from us as negative either. Like we're all here to help.
Unless it came from Brian. Brian is Mr. Negative.
I think that it just takes everybody knowing us as well, because they go, like there's sometimes when somebody that knows me, like will assume that I was approaching something a certain way, and I'm like, I'm not like, I understand that you didn't know, but I'm kind of disappointed that not in this situation, but like, I want to get to a place where you guys know us so well that it wouldn't be assumed that they were approaching it from a very hard-headed standpoint.
And
because
that's why I was so comfortable, was because when you told me that there would be enough hardscape, like I'm comfortable working with you. I know that there's going to be enough for me at the shrimp contest, so I already feel, going forward with you on the Aquascape, that there will
be the shrimp contest.
So.
I didn't even touch it, and that's the funny thing is, like, with the shrimp contest, Rob had it handled, and then you had it handled, and then so I never got involved in the shrimp contest like I have the aquascaping contest. Maybe that shows my passion for the aquascaping side, because I really wanted to impact it and make it awesome. And I'll tell a story that maybe I shouldn't, but hey, I always just do whatever I want to. I wanted to partner with the AGA to do this competition. And so I called them and I was like, hey, listen, we've had so many people request for people to bring back an aquascaping contest in the U.S. And Aquashella is got 6,000 people coming to the show and climbing. Why don't you guys come and do this with us? And I really was just kind of met with a lot of misunderstanding of what we were trying to do and how many locations we had. And just, I felt like I wasn't a good fit for that partnership right away. And so I was like adamant to like still do one, because I didn't want that partnership didn't work out, to keep us from doing something special. And especially that Fluval had so much confidence in what we could create by being creative. Obviously, but they just had a lot of confidence that we could get this done. And so I think that I felt really kind of dedicated to it, and like I wanted to prove that we could do it. And so I certainly want to make sure that we're listening, because I don't want us to fail at this, because I want it to be like I want to stand back 2 years from now, look back at it, and be like, we did it. Like we.
Because if the Aquascape fails, Aquashella doesn't fail. You move on, but you're passionate. We can tell you want this to work.
Yeah, and it will, because I won't fail, but it's just finding and navigating through this to make sure, because as I thought about it, I was just so disappointed that I was upsetting people. I just felt like, well, that's not a good way to get started at all, and then that doesn't make it fun for me. But at the same time, like certainly I must not understand a component here if there's such passionate response here. And so at first I was kind of offended by the upsettedness. I was like, well, you don't understand what it's like to be me and how hard this is to put together. But then I was like, there must be something I don't understand on that end too. So that's why I told Grant, I was like, bring me on the show. Like, let's just get it out there. Like, I'm not worried. I'll come in and talk to anybody because they'll be able to see where my heart's coming from. And I'll certainly probably be able to see theirs, or like somehow we're going to meet in the middle with this. And so I wish that we had been able to do it sooner, because I know now we're here 2.5 weeks out, or almost 3 weeks out from the show, or whatever.
We got to wrap things up, and I had 2 more things I wanted to say, and I was going to let everybody else have last words. But we're 2 weeks away from Aquashella, and I got 2 more things that might be like, oh, I didn't think about that. So I know you don't want my help, that I got too much going on, but I'm going to give it to you just in case.
Yeah, no, and again, that's not.
I'll let you finish.
Like, you can certainly help Grant with whatever you have time to.
Dude, I have 300 tanks that I do water changes. Most of my day, I'm just looking at my phone going, something distract me, but not enough that I flood. You know what I mean? Just keep me entertained. So I have like this going on, then I'm like, move the tank. Okay. And back and forth. So I'm usually like not preoccupied and just bored with my day. So if you need something, ask for it. The other thing was, if you're going to do the plant route and have somebody send in plants, maybe what I would do in your situation would be like message Chance, Jen, Jeff, Mike, and have them say, hey, here's my list of plants I can bring in. Why don't you give me what your list would be for your tank plus extras, but enough for you to fill up your tank? Then take all 3 lists. If Chance and Jeff both put the same amount of this plant, you know what I mean? Don't double up on it, but then give everybody enough plants for the mixture. And then, sell some raffle tickets or something for the leftover plants at the Aquascape or something that way. So,
what wouldn't it? Isn't the biggest name in plants like Fan right now, Florida Aquatic Nursery?
They're mass-produced common plants. So, plants that you would just go to a pet store and buy. The stuff that I carry or I grow, you don't find in pet stores. It's not stuff that you would find in tissue culture, and it's stuff
we can't do tissue
more
culture
common
either.
Used in aquascaping, like in European aquascaping, Asian aquascaping, stuff like that. The stems you see in Dutch tanks.
I feel like I'm getting less and less hopeful that it's actually possible to have everything that everyone would need to make this work. So,
and that's what you don't need to try. Like you're never going to be able to make everybody happy. Like that's I guess. So like that's where I've accepted, like, this isn't a competition to where I see it as like a super artistic competition now. It's like a grow the hobby competition, and that's even better in my eyes. Well, like in my eyes, like that's
I think that
my main goal.
I think that I certainly need to give it some thought over the next, maybe just the night to sleep on it.
Feel free to call me or any of us, man.
I think what I'll do is in the morning I'll give Mike Sinsky a call, because he's been helping me judge this competition, and he's got so many people from the industry. He has a quick phone call too to be able to get their feedback as well. So I'll probably reach out to Mike Sinsky and have another live stream where we talk about what we want to do going forward. And hey, if it's not too late, I might do what Chance and Shelby suggested is just allow both, like bring everything, have it all there. So that way, if that's what you've planned on doing, you're able to still have that, because now for people to go and get their own items, it would be a scramble, and then just that would be a massive failure. But if I were to say, okay, I will open it up to where you can bring some of your own scaping materials, I just don't know what kind of a bomb that would create going forward, because obviously I didn't expect the first change I made to be a bomb. So I'm going to go and talk to some of these people and make sure that we take a look at your feedback here and what that would do to the creativity, or what that would do to the end result, or what that would do to the overall viewpoint of the competition, and whether if it can be as good as some of the other ones one day. And so let me have a long talk with Mike in the morning and sleep on this, since it's so late. And since we've been on for a couple hours, I'm sure. I mean, I know my son's waiting for me to get off so I can talk to him. But no big deal. This is absolutely 1,000% of what I need to be doing, and importance to try to, because I want this to be awesome. So let me talk with Mike in the morning, and let me try to see if I can put together another live stream, see how well the contestants will be able to adjust to if we do make some changes to get this second round going, and like fully kind of conversate with contestants about this piece, and see if we have 9 contestants that are fully okay with the rules that we decide for this, and that we're okay with if we do let people bring some materials, how that's going to look in Chicago, if that's the long-term picture that we want. Like, I love the idea of people going to grab their scape stuff, people going to pick that up and being able to make something that they hadn't pictured at all. I love that idea, but I hate the idea of not seeing the most beautiful scape at these events. And so let me just give it some thought.
Are you a good test taker?
Me?
Yeah. Like if I give you a standardized test of 100 questions, are you good at it?
What was your SAT score?
Not even that. No. Just this. How do you do in standardized test?
I think I did pretty well. I mean, I just overstudied, right? So I knew that what was going to be required of me for a test, and I just made sure that I knew every single answer before I went in that room.
So you had to plan a bit, right?
Yeah, I literally would record the lectures from the
I did the same. I'm the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm the same thing. Like, you had to study. So
yeah, hard. Yeah, and then just come in. Like, I couldn't sleep if I didn't feel like I knew the answer to every question that could be asked. Because what if I make a C or a D or a fail? Like,
right.
What then? Like, I just, I could sleep later, right? So there's your answer. I know. I think I know where you're going with it, but I want you to go that way. And
but that's my worry, man, because I like we get into something and it's a last minute stitch thing, and it's like taking somebody who's not a good test taker and giving them a subject that they haven't studied, or minorly studied. Like, let's say you give them college level algebra and all they have is algebra 1 from high school. You know what I mean? And you give them that test.
So think about it this way.
And their reputation's based on it.
And the reputation's based on it, yes, absolutely. Think about some of the competitions you've seen on TV, where they brought out a component that you weren't ready for as a contestant, and how it blew someone's mind.
Oh, as an audience member, you're like, oh, yes.
But then even as the person that competed, they go home and they're like, man, they
learned something, even if they lost. They took a different L.
Did you watch that Netflix series on Evie? What was that Netflix series where the girl played chess?
Oh, Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit. Oh my God! And then the person did something that she just fully did not expect, and she lost, right? But she was the best chess player in the world. But she lost that battle. But she learned something from that person going with that move instead. And it literally almost broke her as a person. But then she was like, she thought about that, and really strategized over any possible component that the other person could do to wreck her game. And so when I hear that chance, I think of trying to be ready for, as an aquascaper, for any possible component that you might not know. And then therefore it's like who broadly, like what when you see something that comes out of that, like think about even with what we were talking about Pokemon earlier, when you're like, okay, you have your teams. Like, if you knew what you were going to compete against, you'd be able to win every time, because you'd like, okay, Charizard, and then
Water beats fire.
Like
Yeah.
I know this, boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna win. But what if they throw in this one or that one, and then you're not
New
ready?
element.
Dang it! I have to keep in mind that that component is lurking out there somewhere, and it could show up. I think that what I hope is that maybe we're able to accomplish that, but then also keep your creativity at an all-time high, because I don't want to not have the best scapes that you could possibly see being
That's only my
presented.
main worry is growing the hobby, and you want to get it on an international level. So like this is the only live aquascaping competition in the US. So all the international scapers, you need to catch their
Better pay
attention.
attention.
Are they going to even, is it worth their time to come over and compete? You know, I mean, you have big names. I mean, you have Hip, you have other people that are coming into in the finals that submitted the photos or whatever they did. So it's like, you know, you have the names, but if the art isn't there, you're not going to get the real artist. You're just going to get more names, because there's names and then there's artists. Like you talk about the Top Chef shows or whatever, like those are TV chefs.
Yeah.
And then there's like real chefs. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, no, and I don't want it to be just because they're on TV. I want everyone to compete. I want everyone to have an opportunity. I'm wondering if, just even hearing the feedback, if it shouldn't be a blend of qualifications, like, because we do have the online component, right? And so you can qualify on the online component and make it to the final.
Qualify online, or is that over?
No, you could still qualify online, I believe. Again, I need to get with Joanne and figure out where everything, because I have to move away from these things.
And those people have to come and compete live in Chicago.
Those people compete in the final live, right? So it's 3 from Dallas, 3 from Chicago, or 3 from Orlando, and then it's 9 more that will be accepted into Chicago by inputting all their stuff online for Chicago. And so, and that component, the online part, is supposed to be a very large portion of this, to where you've had a long time to work on that scape, but then eventually you're still going to have to compete head to head with everyone else. And I wonder if that one still shouldn't be where you have to grab your scape from where everyone else is grabbing it, because ultimately I think you can prove your point that you can make a badass scape on an international stage, by, I mean, hey, the one in China, right? That one you're able to work on your scape for like a year and then input that. Like, I'd hate to not be as respected at that as that one day. Like, I know that seems like a crazy thought that we would be that could get to that level, but because of how long they've been doing it. But I mean, the hope is one day that what we decide to do here and how we do it will be respected in that same way. And so, I don't know. I mean, just even talking it through with you, Chance, I really almost still feel like that I want that component of performing under pressure, because there's some amazing competitions that happen under that type of pressure that I feel like you want to show that.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. Like, all I'm saying, and my point of it is, you can take them and put them on the spot and get them going and everything along those lines, and have them create something nice. You'll get nice work out of the spontaneous, spontaneity of doing something. You'll get nice work. And you might get a masterpiece. Like, you might get a roll of the dice and you might get something that's like, oh my gosh, like, wow, this is the best scape I've ever seen in my whole life. And I can't believe the guy did it out of a box over there. Or you might not.
Or you might not. And then when you don't, the exposure that you bring. And then if I want to bring exposure to the equipment, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. We're all just
I get you. No, I love it. I love it.
And then like, if you're trying to bring exposure to the aquarium industry, well, wouldn't you want your best foot forward for that exposure? Wouldn't you want the most beautiful scapes?
That's where I'm getting at.
So yeah, it's giving me a lot to think about, honestly.
So I got 2 things I just want to say.
Yeah,
real quick.
go ahead.
So I think that there's, you're on mute, but
dang it.
Just real quick, I just want to say, the first thing, I think that if you want a level playing field, I think you're on the right path with the hardscape and being, similar. That's a level playing field. Everyone's coming into it. But I think if you take away the plants, like you can give all 3 of us or all 4 of us the same plants, and we won't place it the same spot in places like that. And that's where a lot of the artistic freedom, the pop of color, like specific placement of plants, like that's what Chance does great things at. Is he's able to put it in that nooks and crannies and look at that detail of that's where like the masterpiece aquascape, the kind of finishing touches come in. So like I definitely see both sides of wanting to make it a level playing field, or at least all aquascapers are the same. But I think that the freedom of being able to have your own personality, because when it comes to plants, anybody can really propagate plants and bring them
Not
to
as
a
good
show.
as Chance though.
What if we did a mix on? We brought in the rocks and the sticks, the stuff that's hard to transport like that.
Yeah.
But we gave you a list of our materials. We gave you guys this many pounds.
Like with fans, yeah.
This many pounds of this will be here. This many pounds of, these types of sticks will be here. This is all the varieties you're going to be able to choose from. That will certainly be provided. And then you're like, bring your plants based on that information. Like, bring your plants based on what you know. I'm not sure. Again, we're brainstorming here. I do like the idea of the plant thing, the plants being provided ultimately. So I need to get with Joanne to see it. She probably already did it because she just does things. And she's really good about like me coming up with something, talking about doing it, and then she's making sure it gets done. But I would say with the plant side, like, I don't know. I'm kind of lost now with all of it because I'm just I'm kind of
it's late and I hear you.
I'm mind blown by Chance's perspective, and also I still deep in my heart had talked to so many people about this competition. So many people are excited about competing live and on the same playing field. Like so many people are so jazzed up about that. I felt their energy and was really excited about it too, and could understand that. Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited about it. Don't get me wrong, man. Like, it's live aquascaping. I'm excited about it. It's just not so like the fluval comp and everything before with Aquatic Experience and what it was before was like you had tanks come out of there that were like phenomenal, like that you would see potentially in an IAPLC competition.
Yeah, and
so like that's where I come from, and that's why I really wanted to was so excited about the Aquashella taking the competition back into it. I'm like, oh hell yeah.
Well,
I get an opportunity to show off.
I was excited about that too. Like, I wanted to work with the AGA. We just got out to the wrong foot. Like, I just couldn't. I don't think she understood me, and I certainly didn't understand her. We were trying to like different people talk, and I didn't think we could. Ultimately, I didn't think it was best because I felt like I would be just too different and too hard for her to work with. And so, but I love what they do at AGA, and I love what they do in the China competition. I mean, obviously, those are beautiful things, but I also I hate the thought of not being able to produce scapes like that. To your point, Chance, and so, but then I hate the thought of not being able to have the excitement of a live competition, and so, but you can't really do them both because you don't. It just would spread out the focus too much, and so.
Because there's another aspect we've yet to forget. It's the last thing I want to talk about.
Yeah.
After hardscape, after plants, we fill up the tank. We got to put something else in it. So are we allowed to bring, can I bring any shrimp, any fish, anything like that?
Yes, and that should have all, in the rules been shown that it was allowed, is that you could bring fish and you could bring plants, but you could not bring rock and you couldn't bring driftwood. And so I might have missed something or misread something that gave rock.
I actually didn't see anything on those rules at all.
About limiting those.
Yeah,
so really
about
only
fish
saying
or
that,
plants. So that's why I was bringing it up.
So the way that I saw it, it was that fish and plants were allowed, but we were providing rocks and sticks. And maybe that's a blend of both worlds where you're able to there's still components that you don't have decided yet for you. There's still, you have to come in and go, oh shoot, I have these fish, I have these plants. I know what I brought and I controlled some of my situation, but I haven't controlled all my situation because now I have to pick my scape. Now it'll be a lot to choose from, but now you have to still pick your rocks and your sticks to work with the fish and the plants that you brought. And so maybe the blend that we've kind of run into here, and then kind of how I thought it's a good thing because Chance, you get to pick, like, you get to bring some of the most beautiful plants, but you have to keep in mind what like, okay, this is the type of stone I'm going to have access to. So I'll try to get a list of the types of stone. Maybe that's best that we actually list that out. This is the type of stone you're going to have. This is the type of sticks that you're going to have.
Yeah, I agree.
And when you bring your plants, you keep that in mind. But you are able to bring your plants, and you are able to source those, and you are able to pick out your fish. And so, but then some people are still going to argue that, okay, well, that gives us kind of an unfair competition for people that are afford the better plants, people that can afford the better fish. But at the same time, I still want what Chance wants too, of having something so beautiful created at this show that you can put it on that platform and the world sees it and goes, that's amazing. So,
and because we had this conversation, it'll happen. Somebody will work extra hard, and it'll happen. Either us or somebody else will make it happen. But the thing that needed to happen was this conversation.
No, I think so. And I like that it's live. I mean, because I never want someone to think that we're unapproachable. I never want someone to think that things can't be brought up to our attention. And I just go, no, I made my decision. That's not who we're ever gonna be. We're gonna be fun, cool. Someone that do things like our email is coolpeople@aquashella.com, because that's what people want. We want people to know right away that we're different. Now, some people don't like that email address. I didn't realize that people would be like, oh, these guys are just not serious enough. But
I just didn't want you to think that I meant any disrespect by coming at you with it. I truly am just trying to build stuff.
I honestly just would urge you to just continue to respond, like continue to go back and forth, and so that way I can learn more, about what everybody wants and about what's important, and ultimately about what any sort of small or big change will kind of what that might do. And I think you brought a lot of good points to this. Like, well, if you make that change, Sean, you realize that this picture that you have in your head of the most beautiful scapes that are created, that are being shown in these other competitions, you're making that a very small.
I want to do what you want to do, man. I want to lure in, some of the larger named European and Asian scapers so I can beat them. That's basically it. But they're not going to come here if the art isn't worth coming here. If the competition isn't worth it, they're not going to.
So I think our goal would be to lure them in, but we need to have them respect the competition and actually appreciate it and feel like it should be taken seriously. So that's our goal here, is to make this competition so attractive. But we can do that in a lot of ways by understanding all the components very well, and then bringing exposure to this competition in a large way. Like if consumers are tuning into this show and there's a large following for it, it makes aquascaping more popular, and it becomes an everyday talking point. These big aquascapers that you'd like to compete against, Chance, that have been able to successfully present their stuff on an international platform, they will want to come to the show and compete, because now they'll be like, well, thousands or tens of thousands of people are watching this aquascaping contest, and maybe only this many people are watching the brilliance that we've created here, which is really what we want people to see. Is just how amazing it can get. But if we can create a competition where people will tune in, but we have to have a certain set of rules to make it adventurous enough and exciting enough for them to tune into it, then we can grow the hobby. We can attract the world's best to come onto one stage, and we can figure out whatever rules we need to do to make that happen. And so let's just work together to make it happen. And I think that we should certainly we should probably get a roundtable, making these decisions versus me ultimately hearing everybody's feedback and just making a decision. So maybe that's what we'll do. Is I'll talk with Mike tomorrow and get a roundtable going, and everybody here on this call is certainly welcome to be in that roundtable, just because, hey, this is the first roundtable meeting right here. So I say we make a monthly meeting out of it or every 2-week meeting out of it, to where we talk about what we're going to do to bring respect to the competition, to bring respect to American aquascaping, and to get international people to come here to compete with us.
So we can beat them.
So we,
And we have an
absolutely, like,
yes,
obviously,
we can beat them.
obviously it'll never be me beating them, but I mean, hey, who knows? I could get good, but you guys should see what I did in like 30 minutes, though. I did a pretty decent job. So I'll.
Do you have it posted anywhere?
No, it's gonna be a YouTube video. So we're doing a thing with Fritz now, where I've traveled with so many of the YouTubers, with George, with Joey, with Tanner. Like, I haven't traveled with him, but I've just kind of seen what he does. I have a close relationship with a lot of these influencers, but I kind of see what they're doing, and I think that we can do it too at Fritz, and so we can do that too at Fritz. So Fritz hired a videographer to kind of follow what we're doing around, and they videoed me going to DFW Aquarium Supply and picking out all my scaping materials, and that's when I was massively impressed. And I saw all the different types of stones, all the different types of sticks. I was like, this is amazing. Like, there's just so many, and I can see why Chance would be like, well, I want to be able to grab the best of all that and bring it to show the world, right? And so I picked out all my rock and I took it back to Fritz, and we're making a studio where we put soap up on the wall, and we're going to be filming everything that we do. And I put these things together, so that'll be released like the week after Aquashella. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Sweet.
So I think we're gonna
go ahead.
I was gonna give you guys all one last word, keep it short, and then we'll wrap it up, and then we can talk behind the scenes if there was any last minute things we had to talk about. But I think it's getting late.
Yeah, this is probably your longest episode, but hey,
Yeah, it is.
everyone waited to the very end. It got good, right? So
Yeah.
honestly, y'all can clip it out and just be like, okay, this is where it got good.
Right.
But hopefully they know I'm a good guy when we get to that part, because I don't want them to just see a confused version of myself.
No, I think the whole thing was good, and if they're gonna rewatch it for the contest, they'll probably end up being happy by the end of it. I don't know. You probably saw how happy I got when Chance got really serious, and then he like switched it and flipped it, and he's like, "I'm all for it now that I see your vision and you want to grow the hobby." And I was
just
like,
a different,
Oh, it was a huge sigh of relief right there. That's what I wanted, though. That's why I wanted to bring you on, was because there's so much, confusion about the hardscape thing, and
that's why we had to go on. I knew that when 99% of people that I've ever had a disagreement with on, as soon as I met him in person and we talked, we're perfectly fine, because then we're like, oh, okay, now I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from, because I want to be flexible, and I love where Chance is at. He's super passionate about it. He's very excited about competing. He wants the world to see what not only he's capable of, but what everyone else is capable of. So I'm glad that Chance was able to kind of get that stuff in my head, because I think we need to find a blending of this to make it the best. So.
Oh, for sure. Brian, any last words?
Only thing I got is it would be cool if we could do like a competition like the night before. We do a nanoscape with one influencer and one aquascaper and put something together, even if it's auction off. But that was just an idea.
Yeah.
Chance?
Separate competition for the online entries. Keep the live, and online entries being run your own Aquashella online competition. Hell, you want social media exposure? There you go.
I mean that probably ends up creating the best of both worlds with that suggestion. And so have an online competition winner, and then have a livescape winner.
And maybe if you win the online competition, it gets you to qualify for the live one next year.
Or you take one from both, right? Like you go, okay, so if you won the online competition, you get a special invite to compete in the in-person competition. If you won the in-person, I guess you already do it that way. I mean, So that's already done.
Instead of 9, just 1 for the online. But that's just my feedback. Sean, any last words, man?
No, I've been talking all over this thing. So just thank you so much for coming on and having me to be able to think through all this with you. You guys are all great and super passionate, and that's why I wanted to be involved personally with the aquascaping competition, because there's just so much going on in this. It's so deep, and I'm really impressed by it, and even impressed more so today. So, um, yeah, stick with Aquashella, stick with us, be patient with us through growing this. We need your support. If we lose your support, then it won't work. Like we'll simply just fizzle out. And so, there's a lot of work we have to do to make this special and amazing. And if it starts off by going the wrong direction, I think that we would fail. So, let's just
Well,
stay.
you're open to communication and stuff, so it won't fail.
Yeah.
We're good.
It's a great thing.
Good. But I really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking again tomorrow. Because obviously we're gonna have to move quick if we're gonna make any changes to what's out there now, and then we're gonna have to make sure all the contestants are good with that, and there's not like a major issue. Just because, yeah, you can see it's changing anything mid swing can create issues, but I don't want us to I don't want us to upset anyone else before we can really succeed. So.
And
You got Dallas coming. Just
thank you guys for joining me like usual. Thank you so much, Sean, for coming on and doing this. It's a great sigh of relief, definitely being in the competition. We're going to be competing in Dallas, Shelby, myself, and Chance. So it's a really good thing to know what you're going into. So thank you so much, Sean, and everybody who joined us in chat, stayed with us. Sorry we didn't answer any questions or really say hi to anybody tonight, but we kind of grinded this one out and got all the work done that we needed to do. It was really productive, and I really enjoyed it. Even if chat didn't, all that matters is we brought everyone together and we all got the same objective in the end. So thank you guys very much, and everyone have a good night.